Oh yeah, we up in this thing, baby. We are getting to do this.
Finally.
Oh my gosh.
Finally.
It has happened to me. It's your boy, Gabe Patillo, Ed Placencia. Let's see. Nope, other side. Tim Router, Chris McCracken. Of course, and as always, shoot, man. We spoiling The Last of Us Part 2, baby. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's freaking go. I'm so excited. I did not know if I was going to be able to finish this game on time to be part of the spoiler cast. Ed, of course, finished it first.
Mm-hmm. Duh.
And then I actually think then it was Tim, then Chris, right?
Yep.
Is that
Yes.
right? And so, man, we are so excited to be able to talk about it. And I know, Ed, have you went back and watched anything to refresh yourself, or has it stuck with you this whole time?
I went back and watched a streamer play through it, and then I was watching Chris's gameplay and actually finished watching the entire series this morning.
Ooh.
So,
oh my gosh,
I am
wow.
fresh.
You are super fresh.
Yeah, you are.
Yes.
And then,
yes.
Tim, do you feel like you've lost anything over the week? You got
No,
everything
man,
locked and loaded?
I'm good because I'm actually going back for the platinum now, so I'm revisiting some areas and getting all the collectibles and stuff. So yeah, no, it's still very, very fresh, which is great.
Go. And then Christopher, you feel pretty fresh, right?
Yeah, pretty fresh. But I too have been going back and just rewatching a few things. I also immediately when it was done, I had some specific discussions that I had bookmarked. I was like, okay, when I get done, I'm just curious what this person thought or that person or whatever, and just a few things like that. Plus, PlayStation's been doing the official The Last of Us podcast. Where they started with the first game, and they just now have dropped 2 episodes dedicated to this game. So as I'm driving to work, I've been listening to that and making sure I'm keeping it all as fresh as I can, because there's a lot goes on in it.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot to unpack.
This is what I thought we would do, gentlemen.
Okay.
The game to me is in 4 chunks. There's the first chunk in Jackson, everything that happens in Jackson. Then there's the Seattle 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
There's Seattle again 1, 2, 3. Then there's Santa Barbara to the end.
Yes.
So I thought we would tackle them in that order. And I know, and I'm gonna miss some stuff, so you guys,
chime in.
Yeah, help your boy out.
Sure.
And we're not gonna go detail by detail, but just like our overarching thoughts of each section, what's stuck out to us, what we liked, what we didn't like, and then we'll just work through the game like that. Is that cool for everybody?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right, so Chris, our resident streamer of this game, we had the first section in Jackson. Jackson, we get to kind of meet the core group of people we're going to be messing with. We see Joel, we see Tommy, we see Ellie, we meet Dina. Dina. Get to meet Dina and Jesse. And all these people and see this new kind of home that they've made for themselves during this whole thing. What are we, 5 years after the events of Last of Us, the first one?
Something like that.
It
sounds right.
It's not as long as it took for the game to come out. I just know that. I remember it's not 7 years. I thought it was like 4.5 to 5 years, something like that. And so, Chris, we've got the butterflies going. We're back in the saddle, literally, because I think we start off on some horses or something like that.
Yeah.
We're back in the saddle with Last of Us. What grabbed you there at the very beginning?
Well, the first thing that grabbed me was, if you guys remember, there's kind of like a little recap of what had happened towards the end of the original game. And at first, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. They're like replaying the scenes and stuff like that. But you quickly realize, if you're really paying attention to it, that they rebuilt all of that.
Yeah, they did.
So because this doesn't, like, when it's cut into this Joel kind of reminiscing and telling this and then cutting back to the scenes of it, it's like there's no loss in quality here.
Yeah,
Right,
Like, this is
right.
the same thing. So that
It didn't dip 7 years ago. It didn't go back to 2013.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
So right away, I mean, obviously, just getting into it and everything was great to get this, ball rolling. But immediately they hit you with being impressed because it's like it just not only does it feel exactly the way that it was, but it looks better. So you know that they took the care to be like, we're not just gonna show you what happened before, like just bring those cutscenes up, and we're not gonna remake it and like make it different. Like it's gonna be one for one, beat to beat.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just gonna be prettier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was super impressed with that right off the bat. And that Joel was retelling the story to somebody.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
was not
yeah,
expecting
yeah.
it to start that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought
So-
that was great. What about you, Ed? What were some of the things that like early on you were like, ooh?
Just a Naughty Dog in this game. I don't know how many times they had you crest a hill and reveal how beautiful this game is.
Yeah.
I took like
Man.
7 screenshots, I think, in this game. I never take screenshots.
Yeah.
I think I took
Right?
7 screenshots in this game.
Yes, and just how good it looked. Just riding the horse, you get out of the forest, and you go through that little kind of abandoned town. And I wanted to hop off and immediately start scavenging, but you're
Yeah.
locked to your horse.
Yeah.
And just going through the wheat field, and oh my gosh, it looked great. I was ready for it.
What about you, Tim? What were some of the things that
Yeah,
jumped
man.
out early on?
I got right into the story, kind of hook, line, and sinker, even after the review, and just picking up on small little things, noticing that Joel is changing the firefly symbol on the guitar to a butterfly, and like just small little nuances like that. And then I actually got into the relationship with Ellie and Tommy, especially when they were out and he gave you the rifle and you can go and snipe and you can
Yeah.
see that vast land and all that whole area. Like I that kind of stuck out for me too. The snow crunchy, like you could kind of the sound in
Yes.
this game.
Yeah.
If you're not wearing headphones, please wear headphones.
Yes.
But it sounded so good, and like the snow was crisp. There's some blood, and the blood looks like legit. Like, okay, that's blood in snow. That's exactly
Yeah.
how I could picture it looking like.
Yeah.
So I was hooked right from the get-go, and I was just soaking it all in. All in. All right, where's this gonna go? Where's this gonna go?
I
Yeah.
think the thing that jumped out to me immediately was Joel's voice. Like it felt like I was talking to somebody I hadn't talked to in a long time.
Yes.
Like when Troy first starts talking and all that air that he puts in his voice, like it was immediately like, okay, yeah, all right, yeah, we're back. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
it wasn't
yeah.
like,
Oh.
in movies sometimes we have to suffer through different actors playing a part that we might have fallen in love with. Obviously, as like 80s kids, we saw Batman be a bunch of different people, and so it's like a different kind of, thing every single time. This felt so familiar. It was
Yes.
crazy. And yes, I think, to Ed's point, I think Ed was saying it about the retelling the story. Was that you, Chris, that said the retelling
Oh
of the
yeah,
story?
yeah, I mentioned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just brought up so much nostalgia that I was like, this is crazy right now. And there was just something about his voice that I think catapulted me back into the game instead of like me working my way back. You know what I mean?
Yes. Speaking of his voice, you listen to Troy Baker's regular speaking voice and other voices he's done, and you listen to Joel, and I'm like, well, of course they've got him pitched down a little bit. And then I
You
saw
would
a
think.
live thing where he sang, but the guitar, but he sang as Joel,
Yes.
and I was like, oh snap, he's not pitched down. This guy is good.
yeah.
Wow.
The
He
first
can
game I
sing
was
in that voice.
The first game
Jeez.
I was convinced he was pitched down.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, Troy's a beast. Okay, so
Yeah.
I don't know the order that it happens, but we start to meet the other people in Jackson. Did you guys have anybody in particular that grabbed you? Because you know what's funny? I only played The Last of Us right when it came out, the very first one. I haven't played it, touched it since. I did buy it again, even though because it was really cheap on PS4. I bought it digitally. but I never played it again. And so I didn't remember like how much you saw Tommy, how much you might not have seen Tommy. I know that he was definitely in there. I know you kind of find refuge with him towards, the end of the game after like going through so much craziness. And then obviously you start off with him and Joel. That part of the game I've seen probably 10 times, the very beginning of the first Last of Us. And so, but Tommy and Jesse and seeing all these characters, and they're kind of, the whole story is kind of told backwards, I feel like, from the very beginning. Like, they're talking about an event that happened that you didn't get to see. And so you're just kind of like, okay, trying to piece it together. You know that Ellie's had a kiss with another girl, and that it's kind of upset some people, and Jesse's jealous, but they're kind of broke up. That old guy called him a name and things like that, but you didn't really get to live any of that yet. What's the girl's name again? I always want to call her.
Dina.
I always want to call her Deanna because Deanna's what I know as a name. So when we first meet Dina, what'd you guys think of Dina? Like knowing that she's in the commercials and knowing that she's gonna be a part of the thing, did she grab you right away, or was that something that grew on you, Tim?
I really liked her right off the bat, and when they started, and I to like her more in their interactions when they went out on patrol, because there's so much little VO back and forth while you're exploring, and it felt so natural and just like well they're just having a conversation as they're patrolling.
That's right.
And so I immediately was like, okay, and clearly we know that she's a love interest for Ellie as well, so I'm like, well, I want to know what this girl's all about and what's going on. And I started to gravitate to her pretty quickly, and that patrol kind of helped that as well. I'm like, all right, these girls know what's up, and they're together, and they're also in the middle of Jackson patrolling and still having to kill runners and clickers and what have you. So it was. I did not have a problem with her at all.
Ed, who's a character that we might not have seen so much of that grabbed you early on in that first kind of foundational time going on?
Really, I was just really impressed with Jesse's performance, because Jesse's a funny guy, but he doesn't deliver the lines funny, but they're funny because it's just natural what he says, and because of what he says and how he delivers it. It's just really funny the way he says it. And I really like the fact that, if I remember correctly, in the first The Last of Us, we met, I forget her name now, who kind of walks us through the camp. And we've got to go
Tess?
meet. So it might have been Tess. Yeah,
that's what.
And
Joel,
Boston.
I'm sorry.
That's
when
what
we were in
Joel,
Boston,
the lady with Joel at the beginning of The Last of Us 1.
Yeah, and kind of
that's
walks
Tess,
you
right?
through the camp.
That's
Tess.
Yep.
And so
I remember her name.
I don't. That was good. But I never really felt like we got to know Tess, where here you really got to know and feel like you knew the community. In the first one, you just walk through. How's it going? Going good. That kind of a thing. Where this one, I liked that we got to know the community a little bit more. That was kind of nice. You didn't have to have the backstory of the fight with the old guy and his wife and the racist sandwiches, but it was just a nice little touch that you didn't have to do, but it was kind of cool.
You say racist sandwiches?
Was that what she called them?
Yeah, I think bigoted sandwiches, but
sandwiches,
that's funnier though, the way you said it.
I like racist sandwiches better.
Chris, who grabbed you early on?
I would say right away it was Jesse, but only because he's the first one that made me laugh. Because because he goes to pick her up, she's overslept, and he's like, hey, and then she's like, I'm sorry. He's like, I don't care. And they talk about like the thing with Dina last night and everything, and obviously we find out that Jesse and Dina were together just as little as a couple weeks ago, and then he basically tries to make her feel bad. She's apologizing. He's like, I don't care. Get your stuff. We're running late. And then as she goes to shut the door, he goes, that was kind of messed up, though.
That was
that
so
right there.
funny.
That line got me. And then she like shuts the door. I was like, okay, this guy is gonna bring. I of course I didn't know for sure at the time, but I was like, I think he's gonna bring some levity throughout, and like kind of like those little beat moments that you're gonna need to take a breath and maybe laugh for a second or two.
You know what's funny? I was drawn to Dina, even though I can't get her name right. But mainly because of how they introduce her. There was something about that snowball fight that I fell in love with how Naughty Dog unrolled shooting in the game. I was
Yeah.
like, what a perfect way to show
Yep.
off the shooting mechanic with a snowball fight with these kids. And like, if you,
Yeah.
probably everybody noticed, it's keeping score the whole time. And so you're trying to win and everything like that. And I loved that. And then another character that grabbed me too was it Mary? Is that Tommy's wife?
I always forget her. It's Mary or Maria, something like that.
I don't
always
know.
forget her dang
I
name.
forget too, but I don't remember meeting her before. And so
She was in
the
first.
Last of Us one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just loved that relationship
Briefly.
of like, she's kind of the boss. You got to run everything through her.
Yeah.
And then to find out she's Tommy's wife. And, for those that remembered, knew already. But for me, it was all unfolding again because it'd been 7 years.
Yeah.
And so I loved that relationship because too, I think that like, you know how they say like nobody gets ladies like ladies? And it seemed like she understood, even though she might not have agreed with what was going on. And she was like that confidant that Ellie could count on, even though Ellie didn't really count on anybody but Joel.
Right.
Right.
What did you guys think, moving on from that, what do you guys think of, how did you feel about that tension between her and Joel? Like, it hurt my feelings that there was tension there. You didn't really know why there was tension, but you could feel how cold she was to him. And I wasn't putting together in my head like, oh, maybe she found out the truth. And blah, 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 blah. In my head, I was just like, I guess she's just gotten older and he's a crusty old man and they disagree about her lifestyle or something like that. Like, I didn't know what it was.
Or that he's still treating her like a kid or something like that. I assume that was the...
Yeah, that made
reasoning.
me sad early on. I was like, we can't start this thing off with them not liking each other. This is supposed to be, you know what I'm saying, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. This is supposed to be Bonnie and Clyde, you know what I mean? And so what'd you guys think, Ed? What'd you think of that tension that was so early on?
I didn't pick up on it nearly as much as like Chris really picked up on it. He was like, oh, snap. And I didn't pick up on it nearly as much as Chris did. I think because in the beginning when Jesse talks about, hey, it was weird last night. What was going on? Why are you mad at Joel? And she's just kind of like, eh. And I kind of thought the same thing as you, Gabe. She's just, she's a little older now and she's just kind of meh toward everybody, you know? So I didn't pick up on the tension. And watching it again, man, it's obvious. It's so palpable. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because I'm going back knowing why there's tension and I feel it more.
Yeah.
But
So as this unfolds, the first act, what I consider the first act of the game, to me, it gets popping pretty quick, right? I mean, there's slow moments and you're doing the thing with Dina and you're killing zombies along the way and stuff like that. But it feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like you run into Abby and the crew pretty quick. Am I right in thinking that? Like maybe the first hour and a half, you run into them?
Yeah. Yeah, because it switches.
Yeah, and that escalates really quickly. Yeah, and then you switch to Abby really early. Is it right before she finds out that Mel's pregnant? So Abby and her friends are in the thing, and she's walking with Owen. Have you controlled her yet, or is it after that when he's like, "I'm going back," and she's like, "I got to go see what those lights are."
It's after that.
Yeah, it's after.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was really jarring for me a little bit to know that I was controlling another character so early. And I remember thinking like, shoot, I hope this isn't a game where I go back and forth a bunch. Like, I want to play Ellie. Ellie's on the cover. Ellie's in the commercial. Ellie is going to kill every single last one of them. You know what I mean? And so I was like, wow, why am I playing somebody else in the first hour of this game? Tim, did that catch you off guard at all, or were you like, just
you know
along
what?
for the ride?
It didn't. I sense that it's intentional, and I sense that like,
nice
all
cut,
right,
Ed.
something's right. Something's gonna go down. Something's gonna go down here. I don't know what it is yet, but this is very intentional. And I'm playing this other character now. But I know that there's something behind that. So, like, I'm just soaking it all the whole time. This whole first act, I'm soaking it all in. And I actually I didn't figure it out, but I thought that the tension between Joel, going back to that real quick, between Joel and Ellie was because right in that intro scene, Joel's talking to Tommy and tells him what he did.
Right.
And so, to me, that stays in my head. And I think that carried over, probably more obvious to me that, all right, well, she either knows or there's something going on that she knows something about what he did, that he lied to her or something. There was something about the first one that's causing this
Ringing
tension.
true now.
Yeah. So So yeah, but then all of a sudden now we switch to another character, and there's another guy there, and then they point to Jackson, and I'm like, okay, something's up here. So yeah,
Chris,
I figured it was intentional, but I again, I'm just soaking it up.
yeah, Chris, what did you think of controlling a different character so early on like that? Because we had, I mean, we had, if we want to do apples to apples, which I don't think is fair to do, but like if we wanted to, yes, you control the daughter at the beginning of Last of Us 2, and then you control Joel. So I guess you could make the argument of, yeah, you control two. What are you talking about? You controlled two people early on in the first one, but that's obviously drastically different than what we're talking about here. What did you think about controlling Abby so early on?
I didn't have a huge problem with it, outside of the fact that almost instantaneously when you have to start controlling her, it's right after her and Owen point to the area where I'm pretty sure Dina and Ellie are roughly, and I know Joel and Tommy are out somewhere. I was like, I think this is the bad guy.
Dude, you were onto that so fast.
Yeah. In fact, I made her jump off the cliff because I'm going to kill her. And not thinking it was going to actually let me do it, and there she goes. She died.
Oh, that's
so
funny.
early on.
That's so funny. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely felt like they gave off bad guy vibes. And you had seen her in the commercial, like all like wet and holding a sickle or whatever, and you kind of with the grimace, and you're like, oh, okay, well that's the girl, and here's Ellie. Ed, what'd you think? Did that even tip you off? Did it throw you a certain way when you're controlling her so early?
Not at all. And I think part of the fact that's part of the reason I'm glad I didn't watch anything since, like, I had forgotten everyone except for Joel and Ellie. So she didn't look familiar. Dina didn't look familiar. So I really had no idea. I was just like, oh, okay, well, they said that they think that's where he is. Maybe they found there's someone there that they're going to get help from, or I was so clueless until they shut that door in the basement.
Really? You know what's crazy? Right when she said they were looking for somebody, I was like, she's looking for Joel.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, she's definitely looking for Joel. Like, and I didn't know.
Or Tommy. I was like, it's one of them.
Yeah, it's
one of them. I just figured it was, I just figured that they were all a group.
But I was like, yeah, one of them two is.
Yeah.
And I think what did it for me is kind of like what Chris mentioned with Jesse, how Jesse made him laugh. Like, these guys to me didn't give off bad guy vibes because they were just kind of joking and just kind of, you could tell that they knew each other for a while and they had little inside jokes and stuff. And I'm not used to seeing bad guys that aren't so obviously evil. Like, these guys were just regular people, and that's what fooled me.
Well, what I thought? I was like,
agree.
there's no reason there's a group of them going anywhere. Like, they looked like they were on a mission to find someone. And so that's what made me feel like they were bad guys, because I was like,
interesting.
They wouldn't be looking for anybody like, oh, we got to find him. I think he's down there. I got a tip.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All that all sounds like bad guy talk. Good guys.
When you first start and it's panning over and you see Abby wakes up in the cabin.
Yep.
And then there's another guy. It just looks like, oh, we're going to meet some other Jackson peeps. They're out on patrol or whatever. Yeah. But the minute that her and Owen start talking, go outside the building and are talking, there's just an ominous vibe the whole time.
Totally.
And I'm just like, nah. And then when they did the whole, like, we think that maybe they're over there. And he's like, well, what are you going to do if you find them? Like, I don't know. Get them to talk or force them to come with us. Or I don't remember exactly what she said. But I was just like, okay, they're here to get somebody. Yep. And they're probably here to get Tommy or Joel.
Yep. So funny.
Here we go.
Okay, so this is where I get a little fuzzy because I don't exactly remember exactly what happens. Is it that you're playing Abby and you get into the horde and then Joel and Tommy save Abby? Yes. Is that the next thing as you're controlling Abby? I mean,
it's broken up, but roughly. So you're controlling Abby, then it goes back to Dina and Ellie for a little while. Then it comes back to Abby, and that's when you run into Joel and Tommy.
And so, and again, we're not going to go beat by beat, but we would encourage anybody, if you haven't played the game, you're just watching this to see what other people think of the game, go play the game. It's great.
Yes.
Yeah, seriously.
But like Tim said earlier, the banter is just so good. The things you find, that basement full of weed and the things that happen down there. And I think, is that when Jesse walks down? Is that who finds them? Is Jesse? Yep. And just all that stuff is just so good. But the overarching point is that as you're playing as Abby, you get overrun by zombies, you go on the run, and then all of a sudden you're saved by Joel and Tommy, who to me are strangely relaxed about meeting a group of new people. I thought that
Yeah.
was like that was weird to me.
Yeah, I thought they were
But it was a
kind of
straggler,
veteran
really,
about
if
it,
you
though.
think about it.
No, but I'm saying so they find Abby. She's
Yeah.
like, my people are this way. They're like, cool,
Yeah.
lead us. You're on the horse. Abby's shooting.
Hmm.
Walkers, and then they kind of like get to this mansion that you think they would know about, and they kind of come in asking questions like, so how long y'all been here? Oh, just since yesterday.
Yeah.
Huh. And I just thought it really weird that they just were walking in there.
Interesting.
I was like,
Huh.
well, we're here already.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
literally what I thought.
I
Wow.
agree with you in the sense that when
Interesting.
they were in the immediate of when they stumble into her and they're helping right then, I didn't think it was weird because they're in a precarious situation.
Yes.
And they
Right,
see
yeah.
a person in help. It's like, we could use some help here. So we're helping each other. Then when it's like, oh, my people are this way, the way that I interpreted it all like quickly in my head is like, okay, he's been in Jackson now for a good while. He's relatively comfortable. I would be willing to bet Jackson gets new people occasionally that come through and are stragglers or
Yep.
whatever.
That's
So
right.
maybe he's thinking, there's some people that are lost coming through,
Yep.
and we've got a place. Maybe we can bring them in. I'm sure it helps to get new influx of people that you
Yeah.
can trust. But there's also like it's just maybe not so much in that first initial area where they're fighting all the clickers and whatnot. But when you cut back to again and they're on the horses and they're getting to the compound and all that, I felt like I could tell Joel the whole time is, wait a minute,
Really?
looking around like, okay, how many people are here? What's going on here? Like, I don't know any of these people. Looking for like, do I have an exit? Do I know? It feels like a guy who's always got a plan. And I could just see him looking around me like, okay.
Really?
And when he gets to that line of,
Interesting.
y'all look like you've seen us, or like y'all know who we
Oh,
are.
well,
you've
yeah,
heard
by
of us.
then,
I was like,
yes.
yeah. Well, but that whole scene leading up to that part, I was like, I felt tension with him in particular, not Tommy.
Right.
but
I
with
just
him.
thought it interesting that Joel, and who I remembered of Joel, would let somebody say, my people are this way, and he goes straight there. To me, Joel
yeah.
would say, no,
Yeah.
my people are this way, and let your people come to us, not us just go to your people. But only because my memory, because Chris, what you're saying makes so much sense, right? Been in Jackson 5 years, might have your guard down just a little bit. You've kind of been lulled into this false sense of
You're confident
everything's
too.
fine here. Yeah, you're confident. You got your brother with you, and so maybe you go there. But like the Joel I remember at the end of Last of Us 1 would have never just walked up into a group of people he didn't know.
Even
Yeah,
before that, don't forget in Pittsburgh when they're driving in and that guy flags them down and he just pops them and keeps going. Like that knowledge that he had to like not stop because it was a trap. Like you raised a good point, Gabe, and that's what brought that up in my mind too. Like he's one that's not gonna he's not gonna take crap from anybody, and he's on his guard all the
Yeah.
time. And you're right. He is a little relaxed, but I also like what you said, Chris, is that he's with his brother. He's been there. They're established. They're the veteran scouts to begin with.
Yep.
Maybe they're just trying to figure it out.
Ed, how did
Yeah.
that ring for you? Just that whole getting Abby to getting to her people.
It didn't feel weird at all to me. Kind of like what Chris said. Like they had just gone through, like they rescued them from clickers and what have you. So obviously it wasn't a trap. It was a sincere situation where they
yeah.
needed help.
That's right. That's right.
And so
that's right.
part of me thinks that he just rescued these people. They're going. My people are here. Well, I'm gonna keep guard over you and make sure you get to your people safe. So to me, it didn't seem weird at all. It just kind of seemed like, yep, you still need some help. You're going to need our help. We'll get you there. And then, so yeah, it didn't seem outside of character for me just because it was just all in the moment of everything.
Yeah. I just always thought of him as very, very untrusting. He didn't trust anybody but Tommy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, hurry, my people are this way. Oh, okay. Here's a big gate we're going to go behind. You know what I'm saying? Just to me.
Yeah.
I
digress.
think if nothing else, that's a testament to not only how safe, but how comfortable and well run Jackson is.
Right,
He's been able to get to a point where he lets his guard
Yeah.
down a bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
If not, speculation, clearly.
And so, obviously, right when they hit the door, I mean, raise your hand if you knew Joel was dead right then.
I think so.
I knew it was one of them. It wasn't
yeah,
until he
I
said,
didn't know
"That's
if
my
it-
brother Joel." And the camera pan, I was like, "All right, it's Joel."
Yeah.
I didn't know that he was
Yeah.
dead. because I didn't
knew he was dead.
hear that he died. So
yeah, and I did not. For the just to say it, like I was one of those people that was able to avoid the spoilers.
Me too.
So I did
Me
not
too.
hear or
You
see
didn't-
anything.
Was that the rumor that you heard, Gabe?
So I heard 3 rumors. That was one of them.
Okay.
That
that was
Joel.
the only true one, right?
That was the only true one. It was so. I was reading something on Jason Schreier, and he was talking about. I don't even remember what he was talking about. It might have been The Last of Us, might not have been. I scrolled down like an idiot into the comments, and there it is. Joel dies. It said Joel dies, and they kill Ellie's girlfriend. That was the whole
Okay.
line of what it said. And so that was the 2 spoilers that I got early on. And I think we talked about this. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast or separately, but raise your hand if you thought Joel was going to live through this game.
Initially, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You guys did? You thought he was gonna
hang
live
on,
through
hang on.
this game?
Let me rephrase.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase. I didn't think he was going to make it through the whole game.
That's what I'm
But
that's what I'm saying.
believed that you were going to go on this journey and Joel was going to be part of a lot of that journey. I did not anticipate Joel dying this early.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
even
that's
with
what I mean.
even with me reading the spoiler of Joel dies, I didn't think he was
Right.
dying in the first hour and a half, 2 hours of the game either.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I thought
right.
he would last long, but I had
Right.
I would have bet $1,000 he didn't make it to the credits. I
Really?
knew he was
Yeah.
dying only
I
because
felt
like
he would die too.
they not
Yeah.
almost, but like I thought he died in the first one after he fell onto that pipe. Do you remember right
Oh,
before they
yeah,
go to
yeah.
winter?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it comes back and you're playing as Ellie. I was like, holy
Oh.
crap, Joel is dead. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, they killed that guy that early in
I
this
thought that-
story arc.
I thought he was going to be kidnapped, and then I thought that the rest of the game was Ellie trying to find him, and then toward the end is when he would die. That was my
Wow.
story going into it. I didn't think he was going to die. Yeah, he got the crap kicked out of him, but I thought they were going to just pick him up and take him back because they had talked about finding him all this time. Well, what are they looking for him for? Do they need to bring him back somewhere? So I went to, he's being kidnapped, and now the game changes. So Ellie has to find him. There's clues along the way, and then down the road, she may link back up, and then he dies.
She makes it like just in the nick of time to see him die, kind of thing.
Right.
And so you thought he was going to live through the whole game?
I just didn't consider the fact that he might die. I just didn't think.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what to expect.
I thought that even for me, without seeing the spoilers, everything was so Ellie heavy and
Yeah.
her by herself so often that I was like, oh, well. Now, could
Yeah.
Ellie have been the person you played and Joel always be there? Of course.
That's what I thought. I
So-
thought they were going to flip it from the last game.
Mm-hmm. What you got,
Okay.
Chris?
I was going to say, I bought into all the marketing
Yeah.
and watched pretty much everything from a marketing standpoint. Like I didn't, with people that had hands-on previews of the game, like I didn't listen to anything that they had to
Yeah,
say
right, yeah.
outside of like I enjoyed the gameplay or whatever.
Right.
But like if they had a commercial or anything like that, I would watch it once I had seen some people report that like, okay, you don't have to worry about spoilers on this one. And they had deceiving things in there. So one,
Yeah.
they had the scene in one of the advertisements where you see Ellie being held down and saying, please no.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that it was
Yes.
cut made it seem as though I just was under the impression that, oh, Dina's a bigger deal. Maybe they've been together this whole time, and Dina's the one that dies.
Right.
Because in one of the other advertisements, they have Ellie out there, and she gets grabbed, and then turns around and she looks, and it's Joel.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, cool. So for at least a little while, it's going to be the two of them. I
Yeah.
did think he would die eventually.
Just not that early.
Yeah, just not that early. And I thought we were going to get to have at least a little bit of the Joel and Ellie on another adventure kind of thing.
Did they
Yep.
make a mistake, in your opinion, killing him that early? Tim?
Absolutely not.
Chris?
Nope. I thought it was incredible.
Ed?
Nah.
I think it definitely was one of those things. I don't think it was a mistake either. And I love that, like, the spoiler happens in the first hour and a half of the game. Like,
Yeah,
you've got
right, yeah.
you've got a. We'll take a poll real quick. How long did it take you to beat it, Chris?
Just under 24 hours.
Ed?
I think it was 28 and a half.
And then Tim, you
I
were
would-
32.
I was 32. Yeah.
I was with Chris. I was like 23, 40 something.
Okay.
So you've got a 23 to 33 hour game, They kill this guy the first hour and a half. And so it
Yeah.
almost takes the sting of the spoiler out.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And I think that's what Troy Baker was saying. You know, he had all those tweets that was like, you think you know, but you have no idea.
Yeah.
This is the diary of Joel from The Last of Us. So, you know, it's like, and so I loved that at least once it happened, I actually loved that it was out of the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like,
Yeah.
okay, all right. Well,
Yep.
that spoiler's done, you know, for me.
Right.
And
So none of us are of the opinion, because this is a prevailing opinion amongst some faction of the internet, that by killing Joel off so quickly and so unceremoniously, that it's disrespecting his character.
Oh,
I,
no.
I didn't feel that in the slightest.
No.
I
No.
like, and you know what? I actually had more pity on him because the way he died was freaking brutal. Like that's
yeah, it was crazy.
Right.
if a character I love is going out, I mean that's a horrible way to go. But that's also like I'm fine with that because he, I mean it was bad, man. I was like this. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, it was brutal, and so be it. And then you have Ellie on the floor as well. Like that whole that tore me up, man. I was like, ooh.
I did for a split second think Ellie was going to save him. When
Yeah.
when we're
Yeah,
playing
I
as
did
Ellie
too.
and we're getting there before he's absolutely dead, only because they tourniqueted his leg. Like they shot him in the leg and then like put a tourniquet on it. And so I was like, oh,
Yeah.
well, if he was going to die right here, they wouldn't
Yeah.
bandage his leg
That's
in
when I
that
thought
way.
kidnapping too. I'm like, all right, well, why are they healing him if they need to take him somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, because he insults her, and he says, "Say whatever speech you've got made up in your head," and that's when she's like, "No, you don't get to get through this that quickly." And then she says, "Tie it up," because she knows she's gonna draw it out.
Yeah,
Right.
but
So
she
I
only
didn't-
draws it out like 2 minutes. You don't have to tie up his leg for a 2-minute death.
I would think drawing out is like a couple days in the ice and snow.
Yeah,
and
because-
That's not
traveling
how I took it.
somewhere.
How I
Yeah.
took that was she's about to torture this guy to death.
Yeah.
That's how I
Yeah.
took it.
Oh, me too. But you don't need to wrap up his leg to do that, is what I'm saying. Like you shoot his
I
kneecap
don't know,
out,
man. Like
and you
when
can
he
still
goes
take
down,
that-
his leg is gone. Like
I
a huge
know.
chunk of his leg is gone. So
Well, that was
I
a
would've
shotgun,
thought,
right? Was it a shotgun?
I mean,
to
Yeah.
the
he
Yeah,
could have
shotgun.
easily like bled out like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
maybe
at least
so.
passed out. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think she wanted. Well, we know she wanted him to be there
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
all of it.
Okay, so Ellie sees it, which is crazy. Tommy sees it, which is crazy. And they let Tommy and Ellie go.
Yeah.
That was a surprise for me. I think Owen, steps in there when they're like, let's kill him. And he's like, no, wait. And when I say surprise, obviously I know I'm playing as Ellie, so I don't think she's actually going to die. But I was surprised that they didn't take them, or I wasn't
Yeah.
aware
Right.
that they had no idea who Ellie was. Like, with them wanting to kill Joel, it really did separate out like, oh, this was something that just Joel did. This had
Yes.
nothing to do with Ellie.
Right,
And I
right.
guess they just needed Tommy because they really only used Tommy's name earlier on. I guess they just needed Tommy to get to Joel. That was the only thing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they don't kill Tommy, don't kill Ellie.
That's a good point because that's when I knew that they didn't really know the dichotomy between Ellie and Joel, or like they just. That's when I knew. All right, Joel's done a lot of bad things in the past. We know that from the first one as well. This is somebody from his past. It's coming back to bite him, and it
That's right.
did. And
That's
so and that was it. But there was no mention of Ellie or Tommy in it.
Yeah. And so if I speed through, forgive me, but to me, the rest of this act is getting to your journey going to Seattle. Is there anything that anybody wants to touch on before we start tackling the days in Seattle?
Nothing stands out.
Well, you had made mention that you thought that they were, just to rewind a hair, that they were going to possibly kill Ellie or
No, I thought they were
You were
going
a
to
bit
just do something with take them somewhere or something in that moment.
Ah,
I didn't know they were just
gotcha.
going to like let them go.
Yeah, I thought they
Well,
were going
but-
to kidnap him too.
yeah.
I
But
will
at the
say
moment,
the-
we don't really know that either, because that one dude whose face she cut walks over and like kicks her and knocks her out. The screen goes black, and then
Right,
it comes
yeah.
back and she's on her. She's sitting in that room or whatever. So we didn't really know and obviously we knew that she made it out, and then later on we find out Tommy did. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It was.
I guess I
powerful,
just
man.
didn't take it as like, oh, they just let him go kind of thing. I didn't. I figured that once she was out because she got kicked in the head,
Right.
that they ended up just leaving when they came to.
Yeah,
Kinda,
exactly.
I guess I just assumed because in that point of view, at that part in the game, it's got that like ringing noise and everything. And even if you have the subtitles on, which I did because I was recording it, it just says like muffled voices. Like you don't really know what they're saying. And then walk, kick in the face.
Yeah.
So you don't really know what's going on or what's being said or by anybody.
Yeah.
And then you're out to not even see what happens with Abby, the person who was doing all the stuff.
Yeah.
And yada yada.
I thought they played it out really great. It was obviously extremely gruesome. It's hard to watch. They flash back to it a couple times to Joel's face in that moment. You're like, they messed that dude up pretty good.
Yeah.
That was crazy. So now we have we think they went this way. They were wearing these kind of patches. We got to try to piece together where we are to where they are, and we think they're in Seattle. Is that kind of what happens? Am I remembering that right? I don't remember how they get to that conclusion that they're in Seattle, but
because they had they talked about and had WLF patches
on it
and things like that's how what was it, the Washington Liberation Front or something like that?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they got the idea that Washington. Tommy comes over and they chat a little bit, and he's basically trying to dissuade her from going on this quest because he's like, we don't know what we're going into. And she kind of pushes him to do it.
Yep.
And he's like, give me a couple days. Let me talk to, I think her name's Maria, my wife, whatever. Then you go to her outside the grave and then going through Joel's house, getting his stuff. And then Maria shows up and says, Tommy's gone. And he's basically telling me to keep you here. Kind of thing. And then, but she ends up saying, okay, I'm going to let you take some horses and some weapons or a horse and some weapons and go. And she lets him go saying like, bring back my husband, my crazy husband.
Yep. Which I loved that because it kind of added to the pressure, what a great story point to say, okay, not only am I on this revenge mission, but I also now got to go get Tommy, who's ahead of us. We got to catch up to him, and then let's do this together like we said we were going to do. I was very surprised that Tommy left out on his own.
Yeah, it was a good story way.
So this is where we run into my first, is it an issue?
You hate horses.
I don't know what it is. No, the days felt long.
They did feel long,
to me. I felt like getting from day 1 to day 2 to day 3 without a whole lot of movement felt like, woo, I'm doing a lot of finding things and crafting and killing people and trying to get away from clickers and runners and getting introduced to the new infected
Shamblers.
The Shamblers
and the Stalkers.
The Stalkers.
I can never remember what those guys are called.
They were awesome.
They were
creepy
awful.
but awesome.
Yeah,
I agree with you. They were awful.
They wouldn't show up on the your listening thing, which was great.
And they would see your light.
Yes, they would see the light.
It seemed like they would.
Yeah. They were definitely. I mean, they would peek around corners. They were definitely the most.
That was the creepy part.
Their eyes weren't fully fungied over.
Yeah, and so I felt like for me, day 1, day 2, those days felt like a lot of problem solving, without a whole lot of payoff for me. And I felt like the story just. I remember when it would be like day 2, I'd be like, oh gosh, shoot, that was just day 1. Like that's how kind of how it felt. But does day 1 end with you finding the theater? When you sleep in that theater? And I feel like that's the first place you sleep, right? And Deanna's throwing up. I thought she was bit at first. I was like, oh snap. Because you got to remember, I see a thing that says Joel dies and Ellie's girlfriend. And so I was like,
oh, right.
I was like, shoot, they're going to kill Deanna off this quick? I mean, Dina off this quick? Like, she got bit, and that's why she's throwing up. I remember when she first threw up, I was like, ooh, that's crazy. And the guy, my buddy Brian, that drums for us, he watched from beginning to end, from opening credits to the last credits. And when he threw up, he goes, oh, she's pregnant.
Ooh. That ticked me off to no end because when she threw up, I almost on the recording said the same thing. And I messaged Ed, I was like, I almost made a joke about her being pregnant. And later on, what happens was like,
I should have
But
said
that happened to me
something.
so much in this recording where I'd bite my tongue, be
Yeah.
like, I don't know, I don't want to make a joke about a girl being pregnant in the apocalypse,
Yep.
and that's off color, and then she ends up being pregnant. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
why didn't I call it?
He says she's pregnant. I'm like, you think? And he's like, yeah. And then, we're going forward. It feels like forever before you get to the thing. And she confesses that she's pregnant. And Ellie's response was not coddling at all.
No.
Like, why did you come? Now
Yeah.
you're dead weight. Like, all these things. She's being so mean. And I felt like that was my first twinge of like, do I like new Ellie or do I not like new Ellie?
Yeah.
What'd you guys think of your days in Seattle? Ed, how'd they go for you?
They definitely didn't seem. They were definitely long, but it didn't seem long to me. It was just
Good.
like, oh wow, that was a long time, but it didn't. It didn't seem.
You
anything
do a
like that
lot
to
of
me.
stuff, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you really do, and which is nice. It was just almost kind of like. Almost like that snowball fight, just a really long training session for, I needed all the time in the world to get used to the controls and the weapon swappings and what have you. And kind of like, it really reminded me of what they did with Clem in The Walking Dead, where by the final one, I was like, you know what? I don't think I agree with Clem at every turn now.
Yeah,
and it was
interesting,
kind
right?
Kind of that same thing as she grew up. You see her making decisions that you don't always agree with, and kind of like that same thing when she was, when Dina revealed that she was pregnant, it's like, oof, boy, Ellie just wants revenge, and she doesn't want anything to hold her back from this revenge,
That's
man.
right. Yeah. That was really interesting. Tim, what'd you think going through Seattle those first couple days and starting up generators and finding gas and then
Finding gas and
then
throwing
not
it in your
finding gas
backpack
and then-
miraculously.
Yeah, exactly. The Mary
Let me just
Poppins
put this tank
backpack.
of gas in my
Yeah.
exactly. I just went through this going for the platinum. So I actually, and now that we're talking about this, I thought it was a nice little intermission because we went through something super heavy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's story changing. So now we go into something a little bit lighter. You get the crafting, you get the workbenches. Loved.
Oh my
loved
gosh.
The bank robber, the bank.
Yes.
In the bank, in the safety deposit box, the little trophy that pops up.
Yep.
With can I say it? Should I say it?
Of course, this is
Yeah.
Spoilercast,
It's a
baby.
Spoilercast.
Of course, with Drake's ring.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't
What?
know that.
It's
I didn't do that.
amazing.
I didn't
You
realize
play-
it was Drake's ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Nathan
Well, the funny
Drake's
thing
ring.
is I had just finished playing Uncharted before this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Drake's ring.
Yeah.
Didn't
Brilliant.
realize. Oh my
Freaky.
gosh, that's awesome.
Brilliant. And then when you're exploring in some of the houses, there's a PlayStation 3 in there with
Yep.
the PlayStation 3 controllers.
Yep.
And it has there's
Where they
Uncharted and Jack and Daxter, I think.
Yeah, Jack and
Daxter,
Uncharted
that's what it
2.
was.
Jack and
Yeah.
Daxter, that's
Yep.
right. So I love all those little attentions to details. We get more dialogue as you're exploring with Ellie and Dina. Loved the interactions. They joke with one another when there's serious. It's serious and we kind of have to clear out other areas. So I had zero problem with it. Loved the sounds on the workbenches. Oh,
The
I
workbenches,
loved
that thing was so amazing.
Dude.
Watching them take
was
apart those guns.
incredible.
Oh,
The
Yes.
sounds of my shotgun was my go-to for a while, and they were not very generous with ammo after a certain point.
No, they weren't.
But I tried to upgrade
Unless you
that.
change the settings.
what does that mean?
Because you can go, once you started the game, you can go in there and you can be like, I'm playing on moderate, which that's how I did it. It was the default.
Yeah, I did
That's
too.
basically
Yeah.
what would be considered normal. But then once the game starts, you can go into the settings and you can be like, okay, I'm playing as moderate, but let me find stuff as though I'm on easy.
There
Are
go.
you serious?
Yeah.
Never
Oh,
did.
I
And
had
I
no
knew
idea.
somebody had tipped me off on that. I was like, because from moderate, there's 2 levels lower and then 2 levels higher. So I went from moderate, I just went to find stuff 1 level easier.
Oh, there you go.
Rarely was I
Interesting.
want for something.
Okay.
And I
mean,
didn't know until I watched Chris's playthrough that you could turn on a setting to ping for objects
Yeah.
or enemies. I didn't have
know
that on.
that either.
Me,
Okay,
I
I
didn't
didn't
have
have
that
that
on
at
either.
Those are the
all.
2 accessibility
right there
changes
with you,
that I
Ed.
changed.
But
Yeah.
I don't ever
And-
mess
'cause-
anything in the options when I'm playing
Yeah.
games anyway.
don't either.
And so I always just play it
Unless
however it is.
when I went back to get the trophies, I turned everything on. So if you're on the ground, no one can see you. I
Yep.
was walking
Yep.
over people's feet. It was
Yep.
amazing.
That's
That
Because
awesome.
if you
is
remember
funny.
in Uncharted 4, because y'all gave me a hard time about it, I was like, look, this is Uncharted 4. I'm not recording it for the channel. I want to play the game and I want to enjoy the game. So I turned it on to where every shot's a headshot. I was like, there's probably a setting
Nice.
similar to that. I was like, I'm not going to do it because I'm recording it, but I want to see
Right.
what else they got in here. And they've got all these accessibility changes,
Yeah.
which we
Yeah.
talked about on the show, on the
Yeah.
podcast. So it's like, I'm going to see what they got in here. I was like, oh, okay then.
That is
Like I won't
next
do. I
level.
wanted to do the crawl one like I'm invisible, but I'm like, I don't think I can get away with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recording it, but
That is funny.
if I do a second playthrough,
Yeah.
So, what were some of the things that hit you guys in those first 3 days? For me, they're all the same. Like the days kind of meld. I mean, obviously, we know we have the pregnancy. That was a big thing. We know that we're tracking down, and kind of Xing off. I had a lot of vibes. Tell me if you guys had these vibes.
Mhm.
Did anybody else have Memento vibes?
I had Pulp Fiction vibes.
Ooh.
Just the way
Ooh.
they were jumping back and forth with the
Well,
storytelling.
and that's what I was gonna say with Memento. Like they do that,
Mhm.
they jump the back and forth. But then in Memento, I think also he's working with Polaroid pictures
Mhm.
of people, and that's how he would keep things straight. And so
Mhm.
she kind of has the Polaroids, and you're kind of chasing down these different leads.
Good
to go,
point,
to go
yeah.
kill these people. And so you would kill somebody, or somebody would get there before you would. I mean, I think the Scar people had hit up that one place before you got there that had everybody hanging up. You
Yeah.
know,
station.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah.
The TV
The
station.
TV
that's right.
station.
Yeah.
And so you have all that drama that happens there. You get Jesse comes back, I think on day 2, right? Jesse meets back up with you towards the end of day
Yes.
2. He's the one
Mhm.
that grabs you from behind, puts his hands
Yep.
over your
Yep.
mouth, and you turn around as Jesse. I had no idea it was going to be Jesse. I thought it was going to be Tommy.
Yeah.
I did too.
But
I thought it was gonna be Joel. No, by that point I knew it wasn't Joel anymore. But I was like, who is this gonna be?
you know what's funny though about you saying that is
Yeah.
I'm not sure that by that point they had done a flashback yet. And do you remember the small murmurings going around of saying from the very first thing that we saw when Joel's walking over those dead bodies and he's like, "You sure you want to go through with this kid?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everybody was like, "I think
Joel's dead.
I think he's dead, but he's kind of like a ghost that kind of leads
Or-
you around and you talk
Right.
with him."
Yeah.
When he first grabbed her, I actually did think it was going to be Joel and be like an
Oh, that's
apparition
funny.
where she's like gone crazy and she
Yeah.
talks to
Right.
him throughout the game.
Interesting.
Which I would have really liked, honestly.
I would have loved that
I,
as well.
I think that'd have been super interesting.
However,
I did love the record store moment when she plays the
Yeah.
guitar and sings "Take on Me."
that
Yes.
was great.
Yeah.
Incredible VO. The VO. Just I'll get this out of the way now. The most paramount, top notch. If anybody
Oh.
ever wants to do VO,
Go play
watch
that game.
and play that game several times because you will miss
Yeah.
stuff. It is so good. It is so smooth. I loved Jesse's voice, by the way. He was probably one of my favorites. He just had this really smooth, quick-witted, like the
Yeah.
tempo. His
Everything
tempo
was with
great.
a smirk. It felt like.
Ah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But everything about it, and like that scene when she's playing the guitar, I love how you can play the guitar too. But there's just like
Yeah.
this green background. I had flashbacks to the loading screen on The Last
The
of
first
Us
one.
with the
Mhm.
curtains.
Mm-hmm.
That was a beautiful moment. I really
That
enjoyed.
was the point where I called it Game of the Year, half jokingly. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you what, there was a point that I thought was definitely Game of the Year. Was when it's her birthday and you go back to the dinosaur museum.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And
Which
I-
hats on dinosaurs?
I whiffed on that one too.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
whiffed on it?
Part- I didn't see the T-Rex.
He missed
I
it.
didn't go to the right.
Yeah. In
I just went into the. I looked at the
dinosaur
sign that
outside,
said, "Yeah."
He missed it.
I totally missed
Wait,
it.
missed what?
There's a big dinosaur before you go into the building
Uh-huh.
that you
There's a
can crawl
Tyrannosaurus
on
Rex out there.
Yeah,
climb
you
on
can
top
crawl on
of it,
top.
dive off of the head of it into the
Oh
water.
yeah, I didn't do that either.
Yeah,
No, it
I
was
never, I
awesome.
never even saw that. I saw that in videos and other people finding it. I was like, I
Yeah.
never saw the T-Rex. Where was it?
Where he's like,
Yeah, it
just
was
don't
just really-
jump off of it, and she's like,
Yeah, it's just
"Woohoo!" Yeah.
Yeah,
It's so cool because she's just like, it was a dinosaur. Like her very first guess when she's trying to guess what the present is was a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Wait,
So there's this
you
whole
did see that part, right?
yeah. Yeah,
Chris?
but when you
I never saw. She says all that stuff, and we go into the museum. but I never saw the T-Rex because that's before you go into the museum, as I understand it. Again, I didn't do it and I didn't see it.
Right.
So I didn't get that line of it is a it's
Yeah.
The rocket ship.
Wait a second.
scene
Hold on.
Yep. Did you miss it too?
You can skip where she says it was a dinosaur after all the guessing.
I
Oh,
believe so.
I'm sorry. I did see that part. I thought you had to see that.
No, yeah, because
I mean, maybe she said the dinosaur line, but what I'm saying is, my understanding is most people's first thing they see is that T-Rex outside of the museum.
Yeah, and it's surrounded by water, and you walk through the water.
I never even looked that way, saw that. I went into the building. First dinosaur I saw was Velociraptor.
Oh, wow.
Never
took
saw
a hard
the T-Rex
left
at all.
and skipped the whole T-Rex, so he didn't get that whole. It was
That
a
whole
dinosaur.
dialogue. Oh
Yeah.
my
I didn't get any of
gosh.
that.
I didn't. What I meant by I didn't climb up it and jump off the head of it. I don't think.
Oh, okay.
But
I
I
didn't even
feel like
see
I
it.
did have that, and then it's got the plaque outside where you can read it, right?
Yep.
And
Yeah,
then I
and
went inside.
I didn't mention it in the playthrough, but I almost mentioned, man, I'm really surprised there wasn't a T-Rex somewhere. I almost said it.
The whole time I'm like, Chris, look to your right. Look to your right. Oh.
Yeah, that's such a great moment. The rocket ship part was
I think that was probably
so
my
well
favorite
done.
part of the whole game. Was
Yeah.
that flashback, her in that rocket ship, and when he hands her that tape and says, "How'd I do?"
Oh.
and all that.
Yep.
Like it was the ultimate daddy. Like you ever see those shirts? I think Tim's probably got one, but like the girl dad shirts that are
I
like
have one.
I'm a girl
You're
dad.
welcome.
Like
Yeah.
that was the ultimate. I felt like at that point in his life, he had not replaced, but he had reached where he
Yes.
wanted to reach with his daughter. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They had that
I got the
relationship
same
and it
vibe.
was tight. And she's trying that. She's got the hat on, and she's calling everything a hatosaurus and everything like that,
Yep.
which I thought was that was my favorite. My favorite part of the whole game was that flashback. I thought it was incredible.
That's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, it's really.
And I hate flashbacks. I hate flashbacks
Interesting.
in television shows. I hate flashbacks in games. Like I do not like them. I feel like it's a waste of time. I feel like it's covering your tracks. It's just a way to like make the story make sense after the fact. You just do a flashback.
You're just bitter from Lost. Who you kidding?
No, I'm bitter from This Is Us. Honestly, like
Yeah.
when
That's funny.
when they saw how good Jack tested in This Is Us, they're like, shoot, well, we got to make half of the show now flashbacks to keep him in the show because he's dead. And I couldn't stand. It's what made me stop watching the show.
That's so
Wow.
funny.
And so I hate flashbacks, but that flashback I thought was so miraculously done, and the way it's in Tim, to what you said, the way the voiceover happens to where it sounds like Joel absolutely loves Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
And there
felt
was so
it.
much conviction in his voice. And when they're laying there and they do the whole thing where she's imagining it and the sun's coming out and you could see her going through space, kind of through her face.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was
One thing I liked about going back a second time and watching Chris play is that after the whole graveyard scene, after Joel has passed and you're in his house, one of the things you look at is that pamphlet from the dinosaur from the Space Museum. And it's just kind of cool how they plant those little things super early on that you don't even think about. And seeing that, I was like, oh my gosh, it's from her birthday. It was just so nicely done.
Yeah. Alan, is that the first or second flashback that you do? Because there's two of them where it's you and her running around, you and him running around.
I mean, you do the hospital, right? Do you flashback to the hospital
if
before that?
you're counting
that's
the
the
very
second one, right?
beginning when he's retelling the story of Tommy,
Not
you
that
see some
one.
stuff.
I'm
Okay.
talking about like
but-
as you're playing. You
Right.
do flashback and when the truth comes out, right? That's the
Right,
second one.
right.
So the
I
dinosaur was
believe-
the first one?
Yeah, I believe the dinosaur
Was
was
it?
before she's with Tommy doing the shooting and all that, because at that point, that's where outside the very beginning, we really start noticing tension. And then the flashbacks become more tension based
Okay.
Right.
as
okay.
she's questioning more and more what he told
And this
her.
this one was just a moment of pure joy, and you could just see it in Joel's face how happy he is that he's made her happy. And that was like, as
Yeah.
a dad, that was like, that's exactly it. That's how it is. Yep.
When that moment happened, I was like, is this the giraffe moment for this game? Is
Yeah,
this
It
the
is.
giraffe moment?
It was.
100%
the giraffe
it is.
moment.
It's
Yeah,
the
for
giraffe
sure.
moment. Yep.
Like we need to get little shirts with her with a astronaut helmet on.
Yep.
Yep.
I would buy that.
Yes.
Okay. What else about these three before we switch over to Abby? Because we have a lot that happens that I feel like between really when you find Jesse to the end of day 3, a lot happens in there. I feel like
Yeah.
you're with Jesse, you think you're on Tommy's tail, you hear him like, you see kind of like the trail of destruction that he's left. You're trying to follow that. You're fighting carfuls of wolf soldiers.
Yeah.
I don't think you've gotten into fighting the Scar yet at that point.
No.
But you're just
No.
in there like swimwear with WLF and trying to shoot your way to answers, really. Was there anything in there? What else stuck out to you guys in Ellie's part of Seattle?
I just really liked it kind of reminded me of the Jeep section in Uncharted 4 when you had the map. I just liked in Seattle having a little bit of free roam. And that was kind of cool. I like that.
Yep. I felt like I was in a rush, and so I feel like I didn't at all. Like if she put a question mark there, I did go check it out.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think I left one undone because I could not figure out how to get into whatever building it was. And I was like, oh, well, maybe they'll have us revisit it. But I did go do all the question marks, but I just didn't fine-tooth comb this game the way maybe I would have if, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have regardless. I'm not I don't really play like that. Like if it's in my way, then I'll go do it, kind of like with the glinty things in Uncharted 4. Like I'll go around the corner and look for it, but I'm probably not going to go like way out of the way to go look for it,
Yeah.
So big plot points, pregnancy, Jesse coming back.
Real quick, just tying into the end of the WLF stuff when you meet up with Jesse and then y'all make your escape. That was some of the first times. Ran into it just a little bit, like on patrol and other things. But one of my issues with this game that I feel like my memory tells me they regressed on, because I don't remember this really being a huge issue in The Last of Us Part 1. Occasionally, Ellie, because she's your non-playable character, AI companion, she would do something where like you're hiding behind a wall and she's like on the other side of the wall, and you're like, well, it doesn't make sense that they can't see her.
Right.
Goofy things like that would occasionally happen. I felt like that was way better. Your character or your AI companion would definitely take way more cover. I can't tell you, well, I guess I can because you can go back and watch my playthrough, but it felt like numerous times at various points throughout the game, my AI companion is like pushing me right out into the middle as I'm trying to duck and duck. I'm like, why can my character run into me? That's so stupid. Make it to where we can't. There's no player collision. That's the dumbest thing in the world.
I didn't know
so
there was
I thought the AI companion stuff regressed a little bit because there were times I'm in the thick of it. One, they don't respond very well, but two, then they'd push me out or they'd run into me, and I'm just like, you got to be kidding me with this.
Oh,
I didn't have that
at all. I appreciated the fact that Dina killed some people for me too while I was.
She did a couple times. Then other times she'd be like, "Let's do it." Hey, Dina, you gonna do something? I felt like Ace Ventura. That's it. Hey, Dina, over there. Dina, you gonna do something now? I was like, why are you not doing the thing? Why am I doing it all?
Totally.
Oh, it drove me nuts.
That's what I kept saying when you clear an area and they'd be like, okay, I think we got him. I'd be like, we?
Yeah, exactly, man.
We got him. You mean I got him?
Yeah.
You was here.
It happened. It did happen so rarely that the few times that you snuck up and got someone and your partner did, you were genuinely surprised and happy.
Yes.
You're like, look at that.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Finally. Dina.
Oh, good. Help is on the way. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So anything else in Seattle before we switch? I thought that coming up on Owen and Mel, that was a pretty dramatic scene. I thought. Outside of obviously the dramatics that are just caused by running from the clickers and the bloaters and
hang on,
and
sorry,
all these other things. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to rewind us a little bit.
That's what we're here for, baby.
But I just want to chat a little bit about the hospital and the basement and the whole Nora stuff.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because that's all before Owen, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Owen's the last thing that happens before you switch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So obviously getting into the hospital and down there is difficult because you've just got WLF people everywhere.
Yeah. Nora's the black girl, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So just curious people's thoughts, if they have any, about that whole area of like confronting Nora, then chasing her, then being down in the area where it is, and then to the end of Nora.
What I thought what I thought was interesting. Sorry, Tim, to cut you off. What I thought was interesting was how willing everyone was to die for Abby. Like, and to die for the cause. Like even that Asian girl that you swim up. Well, I swam up behind her. Popped up the one that was playing the PSP.
Yep.
Was she there at the cabin?
I don't remember where she is. I just remember she's like just one.
She
of the
was
WLF
in the. I believe she was in the when you go get burritos for Manny. I believe she was in that area when you were getting ammo or something like that.
Yeah,
I was outside of the pictures. I was having trouble remembering who all was in the cabin.
Yeah,
as
I
part of the
remember.
group
Yeah,
me too.
that died. I mean, obviously I knew Nora and the main players, but
yeah.
But I thought it was interesting that when you question her with a knife, that she tries to attack you. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh snap! Like these people are really willing to die, and that's what I thought was interesting about Nora is like, has no chance there towards the end.
Yeah.
And they are not giving up anything. It didn't seem like.
Well, but and maybe I'm misunderstanding your question or what you just said a second ago. But I always kind of took it up to this point. Again, we don't know enough about Abby. Obviously, the fact that it seemed like of the group she had the biggest vendetta, but a lot of them seemed like they had a vendetta against. Yes, a lot of them seemed like they had a vendetta against Joel. So at that point in time. And then she says the line like he got what he deserved, all that stuff, which obviously really pisses off Ellie and everything. We don't really know, and I didn't know. I just kind of assumed, okay, Joel did something that affected all these people, maybe not equally, but affected them all. Like I didn't just have the sense. It wasn't until she's down there and she's like, obviously she's going to die because she's breathing in the spores and then everything. That's when you first get the clue that, okay, this woman must be tied to some way the hospital because she's like, imagine all the things that he did. And at least of what we know of, we know he did that. And so I didn't take it so much as like that they're all just really going to bat for Abby per se, at least not yet. I was more about, well, I think they all had some type of legit beef with Joel. Now, it made sense to me that she's like, well, I'm dead anyway, so I'm not giving up my friend. And it's kind of like her last hurrah of like, not
being loyal, being a loyal soldier, basically.
But that was always the question that Ellie asked: is where's Abby? It seems like, and nobody ever would give her up. And so you're like, I wonder why they won't give her up. Tim, we interrupted you way early on when we were talking about this Nora thing. What was it?
I was gonna say, is the hospital scene when you're down there? You know what? I might be thinking of the TV station where it's all red lighting. Is that the TV station or is that the hospital?
That's the hospital.
That's the hospital.
I loved the lighting of that. It was freaky.
Yeah.
I was white knuckling the whole time down there because it scared the crap out of me. And it looked so good. Like just all of the lighting is just red. And you have to deal with all these freaking creatures everywhere. That kind of freaked me out. I was doing that. That was like a 3 a.m. battle. And I'm like looking around like, oh, snap. What's going to... Like, I got a little freaked out during that, and it was beautiful, though. It looked so good.
Yeah. What'd you think about that, Ed? The whole Nora thing, chasing her around, the spores?
I mean, it didn't surprise me that no one gave... I think we're so used to shows where people, when they catch them, they give up the goods at the end, where I think in reality, I think most people would be like, I'm not going to give up my friends.
Yeah.
You know, even, especially if I'm going to die and you're going to kill me anyhow, I'm not giving up. And so it didn't really surprise me or stand out that people didn't give anything up. It didn't really occur to me that it was for Abby as much as it was just for their cause. They're not going to give up their cause. Right. And, you know, in retrospect, you think about it, they all spent time together. They were all friends. You know, if Router was like, look, George did this to me, I would be screw George. I hate George. You know, if I heard this horrible thing that someone did to Router, I don't have to meet that person. I hate that person too.
That's right.
They did this to my friend. Heck with them then. Heck with them.
I would take a knife to the throat for you, Ed. I would take a knife to the throat.
They did this to him. We hear Router talk about it all the time, you know, and the more he does, the more I'm going to be like, that's right, Router. Heck with George. Yeah. So, you know, when we finally meet Ellie or whatever, it's like, yeah, we know what George did. Heck with that. You know.
Yeah, we got to take her out. Yeah. Did you have anything else you want to cover on the Nora side, Chris?
No, I did think that was one of the first few times that I can remember where I started putting the pieces together. Like, what exactly is the vendetta they have against Joel? Where is it stemming from?
Yeah.
And then I did think, I mean, it seems obvious in the way that things played out, but I just thought it was like crazy diabolical to be like, all right, you think y'all got me, but whoop. That's like such a Batman kind of thing. Like, we going down in here because she knows that it's not going to do anything. And then when she figures it out, she's like, you're the one or whatever. And again,
I loved that reveal.
Going back to the hospital part. And I was like, oh, it's just insane. And also it's a key moment in the sense that she's dead. And this is one of the few scenes where we see where, I don't know if it's mutated further, but in the first game, we find out that people basically turn in about 2 days, like start getting to where they're like the angry and all that kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I felt like on that end, when she was crawling up against that door, she was already starting to get the veins and like it was already starting to change her.
Crazy.
Like it's not like, oh, well, maybe if I leave, she can get away. Like, no, she's gone.
Yeah.
Like, she is straight up dead.
Faster. Yeah.
That's not enough for Ellie.
Right.
She's going to bash her head in. And I did believe her, like maybe she would have just stabbed her or shot her or something if she'd have gave up Abby, but she didn't. And again, Nora's not making out of this situation. She could just walk.
Yeah.
She didn't. So I thought that was like one of the really key moments to see how far she's really good to go with this and how much she's going to do.
That and the Dina thing. When she talked about being pregnant and she was like, just lambasts her. You know what I'm saying? You're like, wow, now's not the time. Ellie, you can't read the room, Ellie. It's just y'all two. She's confiding you. You go cuss her out pretty much, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a confession.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
When it's, I don't remember the exact what happened, but when you switch to Abby,
Mm-hmm.
do you have the escape and then it says Seattle Day One from the WLF, like that arena stadium that they had taken over as WLF, and then you leave and the scars attack you right out of the gate pretty much, and then I don't know when it happened, but listen,
I'll tell you.
when you're playing as Abby, and it says Seattle Day One, I was furious.
It's after the kid moment. It cuts to black.
Yep.
Kid moment comes up, and when that's done,
What
after
kid
that,
moment?
when the first time it switches to Abby, it doesn't give you any kind of titling.
She's a little kid with her dad. They're hunting. They find the
Oh,
zebra.
Yep.
That's
So
the
that
first thing you
happens.
get. And it's
Oh, and
once all that part's done, it says Seattle Day One.
Yep.
I turned to my friend and I said, they better not make me play as her for 3 days.
You know what? This for me, I didn't lose it. I
You were
constrained
mad.
myself.
You were
but
mad.
I was angry the minute I heard Dad and it came up with blonde hair. I knew. But
You knew that they were going to send you all the way through Seattle?
No. I knew who it was. Like, I had no question.
Yeah, sure.
But I did not know. Over and over and over, I was just like, when are we done with this? The whole day thing never once crossed my mind. I was not putting the 2 and 2 together like, oh, they're going to make me travel the same 3 days.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Never clicked with me. I was just like, okay, so we're starting again, and let's hurry up and get through this Abby stuff.
Yep. Back to Ellie,
never,
please.
And the
never
longer
occurred
it
to me
went-
I was going to do almost another half of the game as Abby.
And I was like you, Chris. The longer it went, I was like, I know what you're doing, Naughty Dog. You're trying to make me like Abby. You're trying to make me see her side of things, and I'm not going to do it.
Yep.
I mean, I did by the end. I did.
Of course.
Okay.
I drug my feet for so long, refusing to want to like Abby or to root for her at all, because Abby killed Joel. And I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to fall for it.
So
that
this
is the sign of an amazing story.
Yeah. So when they say, doctor, we need to get you down to the hospital, that clicked with everybody that he's the doctor that Joel kills, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like they didn't need to tell you any more than that. I thought it was brilliant writing. Like, again, I'm a little weird about flashbacks, and so it is like a nice little shoehorn because as other
Yeah.
people have pointed out, when you go back and look at Last of Us 2, I mean, The Last of Us first one, it's like a much older, darker gentleman that you kill as the doctor. It's not like this
Is it
young,
really?
It's not like this young, early 40s white guy that you
Oh,
kill.
I didn't realize that. That's funny.
I didn't realize that either.
Yeah, it looks like an older brown guy. Maybe like
Oh, funny.
a 60-something-year-old Indian guy. Maybe not, but you only see this much of his face. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He's got his scrubs on and his COVID situation going on already.
I had the whole, I don't want to, the minute it came up on the screen of her yelling, Dad, Dad, I don't want to do this. Step, 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 step. I know what you're doing, Night Dog.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then you meet the dad's like, all right, let's go find her dad. And meet the dad, and the dad's like, hi, honey, let's go find it's pregnant. And then you start running off. You don't know exactly what they're talking about. And I was like, oh my gosh, is Joel going to kill her dad? And then you go around when Owen catches up with it, when he goes around the corner, I see the hospital. I was like, he's the freaking doctor.
Yeah.
And then that's when they say the whole line about it, like, just a few steps ahead of the reveal. And I was just like, I don't believe this is what we're about to see.
I know.
Yeah.
That was crazy. That was crazy.
When the transition to Abby happened for me, I was, it was late at night. I shut it off. That's when I was like, I can't.
Really?
I can't. Like, I went through the young phase, and then once we got to the hospital and like we're getting more present day, I'm like, I can't. Not. I'm exhausted. I'm emotionally exhausted. I can't. I'm going to bed. And then coming back, I almost wanted to skip a day of playing this game because I'm like, I gotta freaking play Abby now. I know why. I'm sure something's gonna happen, but I gotta play right now after all the stuff I've been through. So I had to take a quick moment. And everybody and all my friends that I know had the exact same reaction.
Yeah.
So, Ed,
And you're like,
was anybody excited to play Abby?
No.
I mean, I was so mad. Like, not mad because she's the bad guy, not mad because she killed Joel, not mad. I felt like it was like automatic filler. I was like, no way. I was like, why not just make the game 20 hours? Why do I need to now play all 3 days as Abby? Like, does that take all that? And I told my buddy as we're going through the days, I was like, they could have done this in a cutscene, right? Like, that they could have told us this story as a cutscene because I'm not going to care. I'm not going to care. And now I will say this. As much as I didn't want to play as Abby, and as much as I didn't care about her story, and as much as I knew that I wasn't going to all of a sudden be on her side, I freaking loved playing as Abby. I felt like I was a better shot with her. I felt like she was obviously stronger.
This is, sorry, I'm not trying to cut you out. This is where I have very big issues with the game because you want to go down this road, fine. You want this to be the thing that you're going to do, fine. I'm the same. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care.
That's awesome.
You can show me what you want. Go find 12,000 zebras and cut them free from the fence. Abby can just walk off a cliff like I did in the beginning of the game. But here's the deal is like she had the better weapons.
Yes.
She had and
a grenade.
Why did I have almost universally, not quite, because I still had issues where I couldn't hit a headshot to save my life occasionally. But by and large, I could kill things way quicker and faster and headshot a lot better with her. I was like, there's something in the game system this way that makes, I don't know if the auto aim is a little bit better on her.
No, her steady was way easier. Her steady, she didn't float half as much as Ellie did.
Yes,
Ellie, I felt like would do like this.
Every
She's like
single
this.
stop to make you. They threw
Enjoy
the book
it.
at trying to get you to be in on Ellie, and I will say because she had the better weapons and because she had, and maybe we'll get to it later, to some respect, better enemies to fight and better encounters and all that stuff. Like the gameplay aspect of all of her time was way better than Ellie's.
Way better.
Had way more to do, had way more interesting stuff, had way cooler things to interact with and to go through.
Yeah.
Totally get all that.
She's a seasoned veteran, military. Like it makes
Strong.
now that you're saying this, it just makes it that much more brilliant to give that to her, not to Ellie. The one thing that
Well, no,
the
what
one
Tim
thing
is
that
saying
they-
makes sense. You're just
Yeah,
saying you
yeah.
shouldn't have had
it
a
makes,
player. But
it
Tim's
makes
saying
it
makes
makes
No.
sense. It makes sense. But the one thing that Ellie has, and for me, because I did a lot of stealth, you always had to recraft your shiv with Abby versus with Ellie, you didn't have to.
always
at
had
all.
that knife. Yeah.
And you always had that knife. And so, and I always loved that because I tried to do as much stealth as possible. Being Abby, I always had to be mindful of, oh man, I only have 2 more, hits on the shiv, and there's like 3 clickers. I got to figure out what I'm going to do here. But I kind of love the brilliance in that they're giving you more with Abby, and she's a steady shot versus Ellie. That was kind of genius.
Did you guys feel that pit in your stomach as Abby when you unlocked a second skill tree? You're like, oh, we're gonna be
That's
here
when I
a
knew.
while.
That's when I knew.
Dude.
When I saw that
Yep.
lock, I was
When
like,
I saw that, I was like, ah.
Chris, I said the same
I'm
thing
with
to the
you,
guy I was
Chris.
playing with. We picked up medicine. You know, the medicine where you
Yep.
upgrade yourself.
yeah.
The
and
first
on
time I was
parts,
like,
it's like,
oh, you have got to be kidding me that I'm going to now upgrade the enemy.
Yes.
So
Yes, you
I'm
are.
going to go through the game and try to upgrade who I want to eventually kill in this game. I should just not upgrade her at all. Like, let's have her the worst weapons and things like this things that I'm thinking. But I was like, well, I want to make, because when it said day 1 in Seattle, I was like, all right, they gonna make me play all 3 of these long freaking days as Abby, and I went so begrudgingly through
Yep.
them. Ed, you
Yep.
said that did it unlock for you to where you were like, ooh, I love this, or did it not quite ever get there?
It didn't get to I love this, but by the end of the game, I was rooting for Abby over Ellie.
We'll get there.
So,
Yeah.
but it took a long time. I think it wasn't until after Yara and
Lev.
Lev that I finally started to be on Abby's side.
Yeah,
Yes.
I it was definitely day 3, even though I was so oh my gosh, you guys. Okay, so let's just talk about Abby's bullet points. So
Yes.
and I'm not going to
First
remember
off,
them.
quick disclaimer and a huge shout out to Laura Bailey who played her voice because
Yes.
that girl got some serious heat.
Yeah, that was
on
horrible.
social media,
That didn't make any sense.
unnecessarily
That
so.
didn't make
from a
sense.
bunch of
But-
idiots.
Yeah.
That everybody's a bunch of idiots, but man, when a game does that to somebody and triggers somebody like that, A, that person needs some help, but
Yep.
B, what a great story that it can do something like that. But a huge shout out to Laura Bailey because she crushed it and she took it with such grace and everybody rallied around her. So I've got to hand it to her on that. I mean, amazing. Like I will be watching her career moving forward. That is for sure.
Yeah, she's ridiculous.
Yeah. I tweeted back at her and I was like, congrats on doing such a good job and making such a realistic character. People thought this was a documentary.
Yeah,
That's right.
people were mad. Yeah, I will kill you and your family because of what you did to Joel. I was
Yeah.
like,
Right.
what is wrong with people?
Yeah.
Somebody
that's
doesn't
why-
have empathy.
Yeah,
Yeah, Laura Bailey
nobody's real.
did write this and make this game on her own.
That's right. That
Goodness
is exactly
gracious.
right.
Okay,
Yeah,
so-
shout out to her, definitely. Anyway,
I
yeah,
can't
bullet
remember exactly. Again, it all runs together. I was not speeding through the game, but I was playing large chunks, so I was playing like 3 to 5 hours at a time to try to get ready for it today. What's Abby's big story points before she meets the scars? We know
her arms.
we get the story of her and Owen, and so it makes more sense the beginning of the game when Owen tells her that Mel's pregnant and her reaction to that. And what's funny is I had heard all this transgender talk before I had played the game, so I was like, oh, Abby's transgender. Like that's just what I had figured. And then I had like heard distantly that a lot of people had problems with the game. And I was like, and then I think somebody else, I was talking to somebody and we were talking about scandalous parts in the game and like how to avoid it, or if you need to avoid it, how long it lasts. Like, is this something that's going to be really crazy? So in my head, I had made up people have problems with the game because Abby's transgender and have sex with Owen. Like that's
Right.
like that was like in my mind what had happened.
Yeah.
And so like that's what I'm kind of preparing for. And then and then you start hearing all these people like, I don't know why people are so mad about strong women. And I was like, oh, so she is a woman. Oh, okay. So we don't have like, so I'm going
Yeah.
through all this because I got no problem with a buff woman. Like I
Nope.
understand, you know what I'm
Nope.
saying?
Right. Yeah.
Big is beautiful. And so I'm going through all these thoughts in my head trying to, and this is all happening while I'm
Right.
playing Abby and not wanting to play Abby.
Yeah.
So like Ed said, Naughty Dog, we know what you're doing. You're trying to make her likable. You're trying to give her reason to kill, which, in my estimation, I thought she had a really good reason to want to
Yeah,
kill.
She's got a reason.
Yeah.
She has the same reason that Ellie does, basically, at this point.
Yeah, at that point, she does. And so we've got this, but I did like how she's like, she kind of gets narrowly focused too, to where she's like, everyone's an enemy. This is not like the Scars.
Yeah.
I'm not against the Scars. I'm not just against the wolf people. Like, I'm against everybody. And so I just felt like her, actors always say, like, what's my motivation? Like, what's my motivation to what I'm doing? I felt like her motivations made the most sense as the story continued.
Yes.
What did you guys think about?
Wait, hold on. What do you mean?
I'm just saying, as the story goes on, we haven't gotten to late in the story. But to me, the things that she was doing and trying to find Owen, and even her talks with Isaac, who kind of runs the WLF people, and her wanting to go get her boo, like that all made sense to me. Like wanting to be with him, and he's talking about going to Santa Barbara, and she's like, okay. And even with Lev and his sister, I felt like all that kind of made sense at least.
Yeah.
When she gets strung up, whoa, what a scene! Oh my
Man.
gosh.
Wow. That was powerful.
When she almost gets hung and Lev and them come and save her, and then it's kind of like that instant buddy thing. We're running, and she leaves them in that mobile home or that kind of off building. It's like, stay here, leave tomorrow. I've got to go. I got to go find Owen. My only problem with everything was it felt like it took forever. Like I felt like the Ferris wheel never got closer. I was like, oh Lord.
Yeah.
Like, I've gone through all this, and then you look up, and the Ferris wheel is still like 3 miles away. It looks like I was like, good Lord. And I felt like the boat didn't make any sense when you're with it with Ellie. I was like, why? It's just
You
why do we have
made
to
mention
do the boat?
early on about like, oh, did you feel like the first 3 days in the Ellie side took forever? And maybe I didn't chime in on it, but I never felt like it drug on. Like I didn't feel like those first 3 days on the Ellie side took forever. It could have been partially because I was only doing it in 3-hour chunks, and maybe that was part of it. But I never felt that. Whole time I played Abby, I was just like, why so much?
Yeah.
Like, just move.
Yeah.
Now I've got to go on these towers in the sky. Cool. Let's get there. Now I've got 8,000 clickers and all these different beasts and dudes popping out of the wall. Great. Can we just get the medicine and get back and be done with this and move on? Again, at this
That's
point,
totally
not
how
putting
I felt.
together that I've got to play all 3 days as her.
Yeah.
Ugh,
And
that
maybe
whole
because
part
I
dragged on
recognized
for me.
that early on, I was like, this sucks. And the only other time I got really mad, there's a couple times I got really mad at the game. And one of the times is when on her day 3, on Abby's day 3, when she's headed to that island, the I don't remember what they're called. The Scars Island.
The
whatever.
Scars, yeah.
I know, but I don't remember what their long name was that they like to be called.
Seraphites.
Seraphites, yep.
I was like, oh. I look back at the guys, with Brian, and there was another guy named Snoopy that was back there with us for probably 90% of it. And I was like, I have to go to this island and do this whole thing before this day is over. I was like, golly, why? And so I just felt like, and this is just me, I just felt like Abby's side was the only time not the only time, one of the times that I thought Naughty Dog was just being self-indulgent at that point. And just stretching out the story just because they could, and like, go handle this, go handle that. I was like, at one point you kind of feel like Ellie's just running errands, around like day 2, day 3, and then Abby runs errands. I'm like, you've got this like warrior of a woman. It's like, hey, go get some medicine from this thing. I was like, oh, and then she's scared of heights, and then they fall down the thing, and I was like, I was like with Chris, I was like, let's go through this, please.
even though I did say a moment ago how I just thought it was dragging on, and I do think that, I never felt or got the sense that it was like filler or any of the things that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
What I thought was, you're making this take forever because initially I'm going to resist, and it's going to take forever for you to get your goal of me being on her side. And I feel 100%, like for a lot of people that worked, because a lot of people that I know, Ed seemingly included, wasn't until close to the end that they flipped, if they did. There was very few people I've chatted with that like almost instantly were like, "What, the doctor? Team Abby?" You know,
right.
There was not very many people. So that was my thought the whole time. So I was with you and not with you. I was annoyed that it was taking so long, but I didn't feel that like this is filler. I just felt like this is just, they did some study and like, it takes 13 hours for you to have empathy for a character you don't like, or something like that. And they were like, we got to hit that point. No, that's what I thought in my head.
It's definitely very intentional. Gabe, when you got to the island point, I was already kind of sold on Abby at that point. Like I was, as the more I played her, I enjoyed playing her as a character, her gameplay and that kind of stuff. Totally. So when we get to the island, I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's just keep doing it. So here's knowing full well that everything about this is 100% intentional. And that's why I don't think that it's self-indulgent. I think it's intentional, because it just takes people a while to kind of get to that mind frame and to kind of not switch, but to at least have the empathy there. Yeah. And so I was fine with it. Was it long? It might have been a little bit long, but I think it's intentional. Like I felt like I was fine with it because I like to explore and go everywhere and do everything. Mm-hmm. So me as a gamer, my gamer style, I probably picked it up a little bit faster. Other people may just needed a longer time just to get into it. But the whole way, I know it's intentional, and I'm just along for the ride at this point.
When she was, I have that fear of heights as well. So when she was crossing that bridge, I think that's when I connected with her. And then about halfway through,
it's like, that's when I passed out.
I know, right? I don't remember anything. Oh. But then when they're at one point while they're crossing, Lev says, "So what's the deal with you and Owen?" And she's like, "Lev, right now? Are you serious?" I laughed, and I think that's when it cemented me relating with Abby, because I shared that same fear, and then she made me laugh, and I think that's what did it for me.
Yeah. See, there it is. And that was for you. It's that moment probably completely passed a bunch of people about that.
Oh, yeah.
That's where it hits it for you. So that's why it's so intentional, and it's freaking genius.
Chris, did you ever come around?
No.
No, he didn't.
Not once.
Okay. I was laughing the whole time, the entire time Chris was so angry.
Abby can walk off a cliff. I do not care.
So many times Chris was like, "This is all pointless. I don't care if she lives or dies. Every time he would die playing as Abby, I don't even care. I don't even care." You know?
Wow.
There were 2 points where she did something, or a thing occurred, or she said something, and I was like, I feel you there. Yeah. So I got that.
There you go.
But it was not, I can respect a decision or respect a motivation or whatever, but it still means, no, I'm not going to get there.
That's how it was for me too. I just wanted to get to the aquarium. I was like, just get to the aquarium. I could not stand her busting in on Ellie and them at the end of day 3. Mm-hmm. And then me having to wait probably, if I were to just guesstimate, 10 hours before I get back to that story plot again.
Yep.
Right? It had to have been at least, you know what I'm saying? And so I felt like we were moving. I was like, when we got there and the whole thing happens with Tommy, and she's got Tommy on the ground in the theater at the end of Ellie's day 3. I was like, oh, this is what we've been waiting for. Boom. Back to her young Seattle day 1. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Yep. You and everybody else, man.
And man, that hurt. That hurt that they did that. That they did it like that, and that it took so long, because it felt almost 1-to-1. Like these days are just as long as Ellie's days are, except you're playing a character that you can give a crap about. Ellie, I at least love. You know what I'm saying? Right. Ellie, I've been through some things with. I don't even know who this chick is.
Yeah.
Okay.
But one thing that when when she broke into the theater on Ellie's gameplay, you know, she came in, the whole thing happened, and then it goes to Abby. And then we get back to the theater again, and one line she said that after spending 10 hours with Abby that hit me hard, that didn't hit me hard the first time, was when she said, "I let you go. You killed my friends."
Yeah.
Oh, that line.
Well, I think
my heart.
I think she says, "You killed my friends. I let you live, and you ruined it."
Yeah.
Yes,
When she
yes.
said, "You killed my friends,"
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, snap."
Yeah.
Yep.
That was great.
She did kill your friends.
Well, and what hit even harder for me about that line the second time was that you knew what friends she was talking about. She's not even talking about the WLF people.
yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? She's talking about Owen. She's talking about Mel. She's talking about
Yep.
the black girl. You know, she's talking about
Yep.
very specific people that rocked with her even through her desertion or whatever
Yeah.
Isaac wants to call
And
it.
the correlation with Mel being pregnant, knowing that Dina's pregnant as well, like that was like, ooh, yeah, it was emotional.
So let's just to rewind a bit. That whole scene, the Ellie's perspective at the aquarium, Owen gets killed and Mel gets killed. How that went down? Thoughts on that part? Because we went past that.
Yeah. I mean, Ellie's reaction when she realized Mel was pregnant, ooh, that was heartbreaking to watch.
I think I felt very sincerely that the whole thing did not go according to plan. Now, again, if you remember when we first go through Joel being killed, she knows Mel is there. She knows Owen is there. But again, at that point in the game, that's the scene where it's all muffled. We can see them talking. And you see a body that we find out is Owen kind of get in front of somebody, but then gets kicked in the face, and we don't really know what happens. When she's in that area, she was going to use Joel and Tommy's old tactic of point on the map, and then you point on the map, and they better match. Had Owen not gone for the gun, because I really do feel like the gun fired when she wasn't anticipating. Like, I'm not saying like a gun went off. I do think she pulled the trigger, but because of all the action, the gun goes off, he gets shot.
That's a good point.
And then Mel's going for you. Like, obviously she's trying to kill you. So you're going to fight back and protect yourself. And then she stabs her in the throat. And then you go over there. And the crazy thing is, the first time when you're playing it as Ellie, I could not make out what he's gargling as he's dying. I couldn't make it out. And she seemed to know right away, but I couldn't make it out. The second time, you can vaguely hear him say pregnant, like wording that out, but I could not catch that. So when she goes over there and then her all like, she's like having a reaction like, oh, and then it goes, you get that same ringing in the ears noise. And then the next scene is her at the door to get into the theater. And you see, she does that hand thing where it's all shaking and everything. Yeah. I really don't feel like she was going to kill Mel and
no, but there's
Owen.
like 3 or 4 parts of the game where she's not going to kill the person, but they just fight her and she has to kill them. You know what I'm saying?
Sure,
there was like a couple
you can
like
make the argument that she probably wasn't going to kill Nora until Nora trash talked Joel. Yeah,
She's like, just tell me what I need to know, and I will let you. Even early on, I think they give you the option whether to kill somebody or not. There's a couple enemies that are like, no, wait, and you can decide to let them go or shoot them. I always shot them.
Remember.
Of course. And also don't forget that Owen was the one that stepped in for her when they were thinking about killing Ellie. So there's
And
so
again,
there is
I don't know for sure that she
psychological-
knew that. She may have, she may not. Yeah.
Right.
But he honestly, like, Owen was the
intervention.
best character in the game in terms of
Just being solid.
more from a moral
being
standpoint.
the good,
Right.
being the good guy. Yeah.
He didn't even want to go on the hunt for Joel. He only did it because he loves Abby.
Yep.
Right.
And he was trying to be there for Abby. But then he, like, homeboy that Ellie cuts his face was going to go kill him. Manny was going to go and kill her. And he's the one that stopped all that. He's the reason that they lived the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so now let's fast forward to Abby now. She's done the thing on Scar Island, which there was just a couple times in this game, man, where like they would send you to do something and nothing you did changed anything. So you go to Scar Island to save Lev, but Lev's already killed his mom and he's sitting there, so now you're just escaping. So to me, like, you didn't even really have to go. That's just, how I'm thinking. Like, that's why some of that stuff felt like filler to me.
And Lev shouldn't have gone. He should have listened to his sister.
Right. And so that's why some of that stuff felt like filler to me, because whether you go or not barely changes anything. I feel like the only thing you learn on Scar Island is that Isaac will do anything by whatever means, even though they've talked about having peace with them and everything, but then you go and try to burn down the island anyway. Like I didn't really understand his reasoning for doing things.
Isaac?
Yeah.
Well, you learn a bit more about the brutality of Isaac outside of just what you hear through letters and hearsay.
Right.
And then obviously when you're in that one house or that one building where you meet up with him and you see him for the first time, he's torturing a Scar.
Right.
So
Right.
he's a bad dude, but this is where you do get the culmination of seeing what exactly it is. The only other thing, because I had made mention before that there were two parts in the game, but on the Seraphite Island is the one of them, the first one, honestly, where I was like, all right, I feel you there for Abby. And what it was when Yara, I believe it happens, the way that happens is, Yara shoots Isaac. They end up taking everybody, and then a little bit later on, that's when Lev says, those were your people. Like he's almost like turning against because his sister's now dead too, and she stops him because she's trying to we got to get out of here, and she's like, no, you're my people.
Yeah. That was great.
Yeah.
I don't think you could have got to that, which I think I don't know, I haven't asked people, but I do think that for those people that were stragglers like me, that may have been a turning point for them. Is that
That's
point?
the lead up. That's the lead up.
I don't think you could have gotten there. That line wouldn't have had any weight to it without going through what you went through on Scar
Yeah.
Island.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So in that respect, I think Scar Island, even though I see
good
your
point,
point of
man.
like, well, why'd he go there and everything like that? But that was one of the lines where I was like, all right, that's I see that she's actively trying to make a change in who she is. She got a revenge. Things don't seem like they're better for her. She's trying to change something different now. Still don't care, but
and that was my issue. I think it was compounded for me just a little bit because you save the sister by going on that thing. She dies on Scar Island. I'm like, well, why'd I go get all that doggone medicine 45 minutes ago? And then you go to Scar Island, the mom's dead, Lev's there. You find out, I guess you find out earlier that he's transgender and all that, which is, fine. And then, all that's happening and you're fighting on his behalf. And I feel you on that line, but I felt like I knew that already. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like they were telling me something I already knew. I loved it. I love that she's like, I've turned my back on my people. You've turned your back on your people. We are all we've got. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I did like the sentiment of it.
But it's you know that as the player, but it's like it's important for those characters to know that, and they only really know it when it's said. That's why it carried weight and kind of hit with me a little bit.
Right.
Okay. My favorite part about leaving Scar Island is that I knew we were going to the aquarium.
That's awesome.
Which is where I would wanted to go for 11 hours.
Yeah. Wait, but even before we get to the aquarium.
Yes.
Before we get there.
Let's go.
The arcade monster and the Rat King fighting those guys.
Oh, yeah. We didn't talk about those two.
Come on, man. I was angry.
That whole underground thing that she took part in, Abby.
That was petrifying.
That was next
Yeah.
level.
That was the first time, because you could make the argument that the bloater, especially the first bloater that you show up to in The Last of Us Part 1, where you had something like that. This was like, okay, I like this being in Last of Us. More of this, please.
Yeah.
That was awesome. From what we know of the lore, made no sense. Like, why are they fused together? And I don't get it. But it was awesome.
Right.
And it was creepy, and I was legit like on the edge of my seat.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
and what I love too is like if you look at the behind the scenes, I think they wired up 3 different motion capture people and like put them together,
Really?
and that's what kind of made that.
That's
big
amazing.
monster.
And they did such as much as that frustrated me. I was so glad at how many checkpoints they put in. Like you didn't start from that entire leaving the ambulance.
Yes,
like
I like that.
They were very generous with that.
I that was the most where I died. The death scenes, holy cow, on the Rat King. I was like, I didn't know my neck could go that way.
We're playing Mortal Kombat all of a sudden.
That's right. I'll finish him. Right.
Yeah.
And there's no friendship on this one. But it was frustrating because I thought the intention was to run away and I could escape. And I'm looking for the exit. I'm like, no, I gotta I got to battle this fool the whole time. So once I finally got that, I got to there. But that whole area, again, it was like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I was white knuckling that entire area. It was so freaky how dark it was. Your flashlight, and then you have to shake it, and like, it was just terrifying. So good.
I loved that.
Okay, Aquarium.
So wait, you said the Rat King? Is that the same? What was the Rat King?
The Rat King is the
big
guy.
three.
Yeah,
multiple-
that was
okay,
his
same
name.
guy. Okay,
the character name or whatever.
Yeah. So we finally get to the aquarium. And I'm so happy because now I'm in that like 17 to 22. I don't remember how many hours I've been into the game at that point. And I was like, all right, so we're coming up on the climax of the game. Here we go. The clash of the Titans. And so we have the everything happens at the aquarium. You find Owen dead. You know, me and my buddies are making a bunch of, you know, what do you think's going to happen? You know, they showed her learning to track with her dad. Is she going to track them as what you never end up doing, I don't think, ever with Abby tracking?
You just kind of show up at because you find the map.
No, but
or
I'm saying
yeah.
you never track with her, which I thought was so weird
No.
because they make it such a point that her dad's teaching her how to track earlier in the flashback, but you never end up doing it. Anyway, so we were like, ooh, maybe they're going to track her down, blah, 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 blah. And then, you know, you think of the, and then you see the map. And Lev's like, oh, they're right here, you know, and they kind of can triangulate because it says where they're at.
Yep.
And they finally show up at the theater. That was the one thing that I was happy about this game, even though I was really frustrated throughout it. I loved that when they were like, day 2, you just were outside, you know, some of the things, you know, you'd be down there already.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, let's go there and, you know, on a horse again, you know, like you kind of were the first day. So everything happens. And then, so everything happens that we've talked about. She comes in, has to go through the side door, all this stuff, finds Tommy, you know, shoots his leg, you know, or whatever happens, shoots him in the, you know, has him down on the ground. Ellie walks in. Oh my gosh, throws her gun. He's like,
Jesse
don't do
gets
it.
shot right away.
Jesse gets shot in the face.
He's just gone.
He's been, we've known he's been dead. We skipped over that, but Jesse gets shot in the face. Another thing we skipped over, which it was funny to hear Ed say that he didn't realize, and Chris say he did realize, because I was on team Chris.
The sniper.
Yeah, when you're getting sniped at when it's you and Manny, I was like, oh, freak, we're fighting Tommy, and Tommy's a freaking good shot.
Yeah.
Ed,
no idea.
never...
Even when they showed him, I was sending screenshots to Chris. I was like, look at that. That's not Manny. And then Chris was like, look at what he's, and he sent me a screenshot, or Tommy.
Yeah.
Sent me a screenshot of Tommy and I was like, wow, that is the same clothes. And I guess it's just because of the rain. His hair is so jet black.
Dark,
that it looked to me like it was a completely different character. It never dawned on me that we knew. I thought it was like a scar with a sniper.
No, the rifle is also, don't forget, that rifle was powerful when he gave it to Ellie for the sniper shots. And I'm like, that's got to be the same rifle. So,
I didn't even know.
It was Tommy.
This is the second time for me where I'm like, all right, Abby, I'm with you. I was so livid at this sniper. I was like, this freaking guy, let's go light this dude up. Come on, Abby, let's make this happen. It wasn't until I pushed up, got in the building, and he's running, and I look, and there's that escalator right before you pin him down in that building, and I go around that corner, I look over, and I see his clothes. I was like, that's Tommy. And I just,
you didn't know from the beginning?
I didn't know from the beginning. It didn't dawn. I just wasn't thinking about it being. Well, one, I wasn't expecting it to be a great shot because I did think, it could be WLF or it could be. Well, then when I saw Manny, I was like, well, it can't be WLF. It was like some of the scars do have weapons, like guns, not just bow and arrows. So I was like, okay, maybe. Right. And then I just quickly did not care because the dude just lasered me over and over and over, and I couldn't get to him. And so I was like, I am going to destroy this person. Like instantaneously. Oh, that's Tommy. Tommy doing work.
Yeah.
I was all team Tommy. And then, Manny gets just like Jesse, just unceremoniously, bam, he's out. I'm like, oh, all right then. And then I loved that part, but at the same time, that was one of the two moments where I was like, I'm with you on this, girl. Let's go do this.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy?
Until I found out it was Tommy. I was like,
I might be taking it. You guys all played it by yourselves. I
Yeah.
played it with 2 other guys that watched the
Yeah.
thing, so we were able to bounce things off each other. So I feel like I don't know
Yep.
if it was me that said it or one of them that said it, but definitely one of us was like, "Oh, that's freaking Tommy." You know, like
Nice. Funny.
from Jump Street, just
Yep.
because
Nice.
he had taught you how to use a sniper, and so the
Yep,
fact
totally
that the
forgot about
sniper
that.
out of nowhere, I just didn't think it was WLF. They were supposed to be behind you, and the scars. I didn't even put together that scars barely use
And it
guns
would
or
make
bow
sense
and
for
arrows.
Manny because he at that point, he has no reason to fight against WLF.
Well, and they wouldn't
Yeah.
have a reason to shoot at him.
Yep.
So
Right.
we were like, "Oh, freak, that's Tommy." And so anyway,
That's
Yeah.
fun.
now we're jumping all over the place like the game.
Yep.
It's all good.
All right.
Okay. The 4th act, I feel like, begins with you kind of playing as Abby.
Hold up. We got to back up just a
Okay.
bit.
Yeah.
Sorry,
In the
go ahead.
theater, talk about the Battle of the Titans.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
The
And-
actual battle.
well, that's what I'm saying. Because you walk in,
I
you're
thought
playing.
you were going-
No,
I
you're
got you.
playing as Abby coming into
Yeah.
the theater, and so
Right.
now you're playing from her standpoint, from
Mm-hmm.
when she gets Tommy, shoots Jesse in the face, right? Jesse's who
Yep.
come
Mhm.
bust through the door
Yep.
first,
Yeah.
and Ellie throws her gun, and then you chase Ellie right through the theater,
Yep.
and it's like you can't. And oh man, I was so mad. I
Yep.
was like, why am I trying to kill Ellie? This is
Yep.
Yeah.
so backwards. I do not like this. Do not
Not
like
Not
this,
only was
Sam.
I bad at that, but I really genuinely thought I was like, they're gonna make me kill Ellie.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
I am going to
Yep.
stop and delete this game if that
Yeah.
happens. I will not. I am going to lose my mind if they make me
That's
kill Ellie because I
hilarious.
was really genuinely scared that's the way this is gonna go.
Oh, me
That's-
too.
At this point,
For sure. Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
I felt so bad for you, Chris, because doggone it, poor Chris could not throw a brick to save his life.
I cannot.
Oh,
And
that shit was hard.
That whole scene, he was just yay.
Okay, so let's say what we
So
have
bad.
to do.
So bad.
Let's say what we have to do. So we kind of get into the backstage area of the theater, and you're Abby with no weapons, having
Yeah.
to crawl, crouch, and fight
Whoosh.
Ellie.
Man.
You have to sneak up behind her. You've got to
Yep.
throw bricks so that she hears something over there, and then
Or hit her
try
in
to
the
get up behind
face.
her. Or,
Yep.
But you couldn't take her head on. She was she's a lot faster with those guns than when I was playing as her. I'll tell you that much.
Right?
Right.
She was like, "Psst, pow!" I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! Since when could you pull out a shotgun so fast?"
Which
Right?
was another
right.
mechanic in this game that in the first one, it was a viable option that if you see a dude, run at him real quick, beat him, and then get away. In
Yeah.
this game, it even tells you in one of the prompts, it's like, if you run towards an enemy, they're way more accurate.
Yeah,
Like, ah,
exactly.
that's lovely. So yeah, it definitely worked in this sense too.
And so you've got this weird dichotomy where you're playing as this character that, and maybe some people have fallen in love with her at this time and feel like she has the right motivations to want to kill Ellie. Ellie's got motivation to want to kill her. And Ellie was tough.
Yeah.
Ellie
Yeah.
was tough to beat. And so, you eventually get in this great fist fight. You're mashing the button as freaking Abby. God.
Yeah.
And you're trying to kill Ellie, and you beat the crap out of her.
Yep.
Dina is no help, pretty
No.
much, and you're going to kill Dina as well, and you've won the fight, and you've got
Yeah.
a knife to Dina, and Ellie says she's pregnant, and for me, this was the moment. There's every now and then things just don't add up to me.
Mm.
Here we've got Abby, the fighting for her life,
Yeah.
and it was almost like the Martha moment in Batman vs Superman, where you're like, why does that mean so much to you out of no place? Here we got Batman and Superman fighting for 2 hours, and then they pin each other down, and one of them says that their mom's name is Martha, which happens to be the other one's name, and now, we're on the same side, never mind. I was like, in the movie, I was like, wait, what? Because his mom's name is Martha? That's the most ridiculous plot twist I've ever heard.
Okay.
But then you've got this thing where she's like about to kill Dina, and she's like, she's pregnant.
Right.
And I was like, well, why would that make her stop killing
It doesn't.
her?
Yeah.
It's not what makes her stop.
What is it?
Lev.
Oh,
Lev
because she
saying
says
Abby.
Abby.
Yeah, because Abby says
you
good.
look, if you watch the scene back, she says that. She says, good, and that knife is coming. And then Lev says, Abby, and she stops, looks at him, looks back at Ellie, puts her down and says, I better not ever see you again, or whatever it is.
Don't let me ever see your face again.
Yeah, in fact, I
but why?
You get that glimmer of, because she wants to have let go. She wants to be free of the pain and all the misery or whatever like that she thought killing Joel was going to do. It didn't. The only thing that's brought her some type of redemptive quality feel is caring for the two kids that were Lev and Mara.
Yeah.
Mara's dead, and now Lev. And she sees that she's learned throughout all this BS that she did over the whole time that he's worth it. Oh, he's like a pure soul, he's a good person, all this stuff, and just doing what he has to do. And so when he has the empathy for this person and knows like that person's pregnant, no, you can't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knowing that that Lev saved Abby's life as well. Lev and his sister saved her life. Like when that moment hit was like, okay, I owe these people everything.
Because you could see that twinge in her eye. She knew. When she said she's pregnant and she said good, she's like, because you killed my pregnant friend, 1 for 1, baby. It's happening.
Right. Or 2 for 2. Like that's what I didn't.
Lev.
That's why I didn't understand.
Yeah.
And I understand that Lev said her name and that it made her think, but it still just didn't make sense to me that she would stop everything she was doing to not finish the job.
I think, and Chris kind of touched on it, because when Lev said her name, she not only realized she was in front of Lev, who this whole time is trying to speak into her life, give her life lessons, if you will. And she realized how good and pure Lev is. She didn't want to hurt that. And I think also it just gave her enough time to stop and realize that revenge didn't do it. She's still having those nightmares, and she's still walking into that operating room with her dad, even though she got revenge. And so it just gave her enough time to not only stop and think for Lev's sake, what he might see, what he might think, what this could turn him into, but also to pause and realize this isn't gonna get me
you what you think.
Well,
exactly.
And it caused more casualties too. Owen, Mel, and on Ellie's side you've got Jesse and what we think is Tommy. But yeah, it's the same. Like this cycle, it does not end. And so that's like I'm with you, Chris, in that I think she just at that point it snapped that like I have somebody else I can take care of and we can be done with this and so I can walk away. And so I think that's the motivation for that part of the story.
Yeah. All right. So correct me if I'm wrong. Does it fade from there and then fade up to 8 months in the future?
It fades up to the farm.
Yeah, to the farm.
So, Dina's not showing yet.
right.
And so you have to assume that this baby that they have now at this farm, it fades up and they're at a farm. There's a baby there. You hear a baby crying. Ellie's all cleaned up. She's not bloody. She is really skinny, though. I felt like she was skinnier than before.
Yeah.
And
She cut her hair, right?
This baby's like, to my estimation, like 6 months old. So now 9 months has gone by from the gestational period. And then 6 months maybe has gone by because it's a big old fat baby.
Right.
And they're kind of living this happily ever after life.
Mm-hmm.
Which I turned around and told the guys, I was like, oh, this is so Naughty Dog. This is what they did on Uncharted 4. Because like as that ends, you're like on this island and you're walking around.
Right.
And so I was like, all right, okay, cool. So the moral of the story is revenge is not the way. And we can push past our differences, especially when you're laying there bloody on the floor with not a dog in the fight anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Let's go get these sheep into this barn.
Right into the pen. Yep.
Did anybody else think that was the end of the game?
Yep.
Yes.
I thought we were done with the game.
Yep.
When she had the child, they went up to the tractor and the sunset was happening.
I took a screenshot right there.
Credits rolling. Credits are going to roll. Credits to roll.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's very sweet. I like it.
Yep.
She cleans up the animals. There's one left. A shovel falls or something like that. Takes her back to.
Oh,
Has Tommy come and gone already?
No,
He
that's
hasn't,
the
right?
next
Nope.
day.
That's the
He
next
has
day.
not.
So
Next day.
she kind of has this flashback. She's got
The
obviously
PTSD moment, yeah.
Which it's funny. I said it to my buddies at the start of the game. I was like, man, this girl got some PTSD. I was surprised that they didn't ever show that beforehand, because you would think
Right.
she would have PTSD from everything she had already been through.
Right.
Right.
But then you got to realize that she's also raised in this world. So she's
Yes.
raised around killing. And so maybe Joel being killed was the first, like, really, really bad thing that she had to witness.
Yeah.
Yep.
That up close and personal. And so they round up the thing with PTSD moment. Dina's there to care for her. They love each other. Everything's fine. I still thought the game was ending, by the way.
Mm.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And then Tommy comes over.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what bugs me about what Tommy did. Tommy is now reversed roles, where he
Yep.
was the one that had just told her they've had enough. They have lost enough. We've done the thing. Let's
Yeah.
go home. And she's like, we have to finish this. But now that his leg's been torn up and he's missing an eye, now he wants revenge for all that they've done, even though they haven't killed nearly as many people of their
Right.
people as we have killed of theirs.
Right.
What did you guys think at this moment? Tim, where's your brain at when Tommy's telling her we think she's down in Santa Barbara, we should go get her?
I initially was like, I'm done. Like, I'm fine. Like, I've got my life that I want. I don't need to do anything else. But then I'm like, all right, Naughty Dog, what you got coming? Like, there's something coming here. So I wanted it to be. I was with you. I'm like, all right, even with Tommy coming, like, this is the final chat. This is the scene. Like, we're gonna see
Right.
credits any second. And I thought Tommy was going to come in with some sort of a last-minute twist. Didn't know what that was yet, but I'm like, all right, he's going to come up with something, fade to black, roll credits, something like that. And then we get that he wants to go out there. I was like, I was fine with it, knowing that obviously the story. Once I realized, okay, the story's not done yet, then I'm like, all right, where are we going? Let's see how this pans out. So I was ready for it. I'm ready to go. It didn't bother me.
Chris, where are you at this point when he's talking her into maybe going back down there, and then the next scene that happens, with her saying to Dina that she's got to go?
Yeah, I mean, it was seemingly uncharacteristic of Tommy just based on how it had ended. Because if Abby had not shown up, like, Ellie was like down to be done. She's like, all right, well, we need to get Dina back, and we're gonna let this thing go. And I too thought, like, that's going to be the end, and because I don't feel like The Last of Us, obviously the first one, and then I wasn't expecting this one to end on a happy note.
Right.
But even though it could have seemed happy because, like, she's got this farmland and it's her and Dina and they've got this kiddo and everything like that, but she didn't get to finalize anything with the relationship with Joel, and there was an ending to it, but she didn't get the ending she wanted. She was bested.
Right.
So
Right.
but I still thought, like, it's going to end here. Yeah, she's just a broken person, but it's
Yeah.
going to end.
And
Yep.
then,
And
so,
then when Tommy shows up and then starts saying all this mess, I'm just like, and then
I know that's right.
you go to the next day or evening, I guess, or whatever, morning, and she's packing up and going to go, and I'm like, this is so not the right decision. This is a horrible decision. You have been beaten by this girl twice.
Yeah.
Granted, you could make the argument the first time wasn't because, that she didn't come for her and they just let him go. There was a fight there. But then the second
Right.
time, like, it was as fair as it could be, mano a mano, you lost.
Right.
This is not going to go well for you in any respect. Even if you end up winning, like, you're clearly beyond. And I understand, like, saying, like, she can't sleep, and she's very kind of mirrored of Abby, as this game does all throughout the way. Also having nightmares, at least in not being able to sleep because of the whole Joel flashes and all this kinds of stuff. So it's like, I understand. It's still the wrong decision. It's still, there's
Yeah, why-
the
why are
odds
you
are
doing
so against her for this to work out.
Yep.
I didn't want that to be I wanted it to be the farmer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ed, what was your? Are you on that same sentiment, or were you like, oh yeah, let's go get Abby?
I was kind of the same and I still thought when she wakes up the next morning and you know that she's going to go, I didn't think we were going to go with her. I still thought
Yeah.
that was going to be the end. You know, she might leave
Oh,
and
wow,
then
yeah.
fade
Yeah,
to
that's
black.
a good
So
point.
when it started in Santa Monica or Santa Barbara, I was like, what? It's still going?
Oh,
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Ed,
So that threw me off.
I was so bummed
Were you?
at this point when Tommy comes. As a gamer, like Tim's saying, you kind of get that feeling in your back spine. It's like, we're going to have to go do more of this
Really?
game.
Yeah,
And
wow.
I told the guys, I was like, this is exactly what Chris just said. I said, this is the wrong decision.
Yeah.
This is poorly written. Like, all of a sudden, I'm like, I know how
Oh,
to write
that's funny.
scripts. I'm like,
Right, right.
this
That is funny.
I was like, this is not what should happen. She's
So it
let
wasn't
you
that
go.
Ellie was making a wrong decision. It was that the writers made a wrong decision.
Yes, I was like,
Yeah.
they've written that Abby has spared her life twice.
Yeah.
Once really spared it,
Right.
and once like was a part of sparing it.
right.
And you're gonna go kill her after understanding everything now? Because
Yeah.
now you can't play aloof, I don't know what happened. They even said,
Right.
she even says in the theater, I know why you killed Joel. I know why. And
Yeah.
so it's like, now you're getting revenge for her turning down her revenge. She
Right.
you know what I'm saying? She like turns her full vengeance down. She kills Joel, yes. But now she wants to get revenge for her friends. You've killed
Right.
the love of my life. You've killed my buddies, and I'ma still let you go.
Right.
Yeah.
And now Ellie's like, you've killed two of my friends, and I'm gonna still come kill you after
That's
I've
what-
killed all your friends.
That's what got me rooting for Abby, is because Abby was let her go twice.
That's
You know,
That's
and it's like,
that's
Ellie,
when
you got to get over this, man.
I was-
sorry. I'm just maybe even to put you out of your own misery. Go, Abby. You know,
I was.
Yeah, and she.
Go ahead, too.
I was gonna say, and Ellie has the life that she wants. Like
That's
it's
what
all
killed
there.
me.
She's got it all there.
And it's not that. To me, the writing wasn't such where it felt like she had to kill Abby so Abby didn't kill her in the future.
Right.
Abby's done
Right.
with her.
Right.
Yeah,
Abby's
yeah.
not even looking for her.
She could be on the other side of the world.
She'd
Yep.
be on the other side of the world. And so when she leaves against Dina's wishes, you flash back to when Dina said she was pregnant, and you saw this very, very selfish girl that you're like, oh, your thing's out the window now. Like you're not thinking correctly
Yeah.
anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I always put myself in these situations where I'm like, so if I felt like I needed to do something, Jenny was like, do not go. I
Yeah.
am not doing this again. And I'm
Right.
like, sorry. All three of you jokers would be like, Gabe, what are you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
You go back and you respect your wife. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
the thing
Yeah.
that they've set up is they're, you know, wife and mothering this child together.
Yeah.
When it the first person you play as is Abby again, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Cut to Abby
I
and Lev.
was furious. I was like, no way. They're going to make me play as Abby doing this thing. Then Abby gets captured. And
Yeah.
then now I'm got to play as Ellie. I was like, this is a mistake. I played the rest of the game like this.
Really?
Yeah, just mad and sat back in my chair
Is
and
that
like,
right?
now I'm just doing it to finish the game.
What did Brian think?
Everybody thought it was a mistake. We should have
Okay.
rolled credits at the farm. Like,
Yep.
let her be broken. We get it. She didn't really get what she was after. Abby kind of got what she was after, but still came up short and was like, I'm laying it down. And all my boys were like, let it go. Let it go. Let it go. You should be letting it go.
Yep.
Yeah.
But they thought they wanted to be Alfred Hitchcock with this movie.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? They wanted to be Shakespeare. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I felt like that's what Naughty Dog is pulling for. Like, we are making a tragedy.
Yeah.
That's what this
Yeah.
game is. It's a tragedy.
Yep.
and you're gonna have to just ride this tragedy out. And you're like,
Yep.
man, but the want to and the reasoning is not there anymore. When she
Yeah.
leaves that farm, the reasoning is no longer there. It doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense to me anymore.
Hmm.
All right. You start as Abby. She's looking for the Fireflies. She's just trying to join back up with the group that her dad was a part of.
Yep.
These guys, I'm guessing they faked the other side of the radio. I'm guessing
No. She
That-
actually was talking to the Fireflies.
okay, so
Yeah,
that's
on
the
the
real
radio.
Fireflies somewhere else. But
Catalina.
in Catalina, these guys are laying in wait for her outside the house. I guess they just heard her stomping around because she's not quiet,
Nope.
and they kidnap her.
Did
And
you guys
live.
think that they were working for Ellie?
No.
I didn't.
Wow,
No.
I was like, Ellie hired a bunch of guys, and that's really what I thought had
That's
happened. I was
right,
like,
that's right,
oh,
that's
Now,
right.
man.
you know what I
Looking
said?
for
I'm like, oh my gosh, we have another faction to go through now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's what I
Stars,
thought.
We have wolves. Now we've got these guys.
I thought they were wolves initially. I was like, are these wolves? But then I remember that logo that you kind of prominently see on that thing. And then I quickly put two and two together. Oh, this is a different faction. But I thought for a minute, I was
Yeah.
like, it's wolves that hunted her down because she defected and, they killed Isaac
Right.
and everything. That's
Right.
what I
Right,
thought
right.
initially.
I didn't. I was like, I just felt like they were exactly like Tim. I was like, it's another group of people, like another here in the 11th hour, another group of
The
people.
Rattlers. Yeah.
Yeah, the Rattlers. Yeah, and so she gets captured. Now you're playing as Ellie, hunting down Abby, getting off a boat, and we're starting to throw around.
I don't think she was getting off a boat. I think that was the boat. She found the boat that they.
Oh, she didn't ride up on that boat.
No, I think
it
that was Abby's boat.
Okay.
And she
Abby's
found
boat.
it. And that's how
she
I
found her.
interpreted it.
She found her diary inside, I think, with the notes.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so you're and so me and the guys in the back were, we're all talking about the game as we're playing it. And we're like, okay, so is this going to be one of those things where she finds her and now they join forces to kill the people that captured him?
Right, right.
So as you're playing as Ellie, you fight these clickers through this house and then you step in this trap. She gets pierced in the side. I thought that was
Yeah.
going to kill her. I was
Whoosh.
like, they're going to kill Ellie like the freaking Haley Joel Osment in whatever movie that was, Pay It Forward. Remember in Pay It Forward, he gets stabbed in the stomach, and that's what ends up killing him.
Yeah.
Spoiler
she's
alert.
she's immune to clickers, but she's gonna die of gangrene.
That's what I thought. I was
That's
like,
right,
they're
yeah,
gonna
right.
kill her from this little this.
Yep.
Great scenes though. The
Yeah.
guy, they get her down. They talk about, she fights her way through. They tell her about Abby. We have her held hostage. Blasey, blasey, blah. I do not care at this point.
Nice.
I will say this though, long in the tooth, I enjoyed this area and getting in the compound and all
Yeah.
that stuff, and
Yeah, I
more
did too.
than raiding WLF camps or SCAR things. I enjoyed the fight part of it.
The
Maybe
all-
because it was a fun fight part, and I'm actually playing as Ellie.
I was
Right.
about to say the
Maybe.
only reason I liked it was because I was like, if they leave this game off where I haven't played as Ellie for 12 hours, I'm be really mad. So at least
Yeah.
they let me play as Ellie at the end of the game.
Right,
that's
right.
but that's the only reason I liked it. Because I didn't like sneaking around and fighting these guys now that are wearing helmets and all this stuff. And so, oh man, it just felt like it was just dragging out so long. Chris, you loved it. Tim, I'm guessing you loved it. This
Yep,
whole
yep.
last little bit. Ed, you loved
Yeah.
it.
That's
I-
not to say that I didn't think it was like, okay.
You have
But if I'm
valid
going to have to
points
do
here.
it, I'm going to enjoy it. And I enjoyed that section more.
Yeah,
You
I
definitely have a valid point.
I was definitely wondering how long does this go?
Yeah.
I was enjoying it.
Yeah.
Like I just like the whole idea of the sneaking around and the fighting, but at the
Yeah,
same
me
time
too.
I'm like, are we close to the end? I don't know how much is left.
Yeah. We finally get an SMG that's silenced.
Yeah.
That was nice. I was like, all right,
Right?
well, at least we
Sound good.
brought a new weapon in here at the very end of the game.
Yep.
All right. So you make your way through just like you're gonna. You shoot
Yep.
your way through or sneak your way through this little fortress, and it feels like the round building just isn't getting closer, and you're like,
Yeah.
I just gotta get to that round building, and you make your way there. You see that they're shuttling people in and out. I did a lot of sneaking getting to the building.
Me
I
too.
didn't barely fight anybody on the way there, but then once you hit
Really?
the building, it's
Well, I
hard
fought a
to.
ton of people. I couldn't figure
Yeah.
out where to go, so I was like, I'm gonna have to kill these guys so I can have the time to look around
I
and figure out
snuck
where to
the
go.
Yeah.
Snuck
whole
right in.
way trying to save
Really?
bullets. Yeah.
For my own peace of mind, I can't leave anyone alive.
Really?
Like, because I don't want anyone to surprise me. So I got to kill everyone until she's like, phew, wow.
Yeah.
Or, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I always
Then
I always rush my way to like where they open and close a door because I'm like, okay, nobody's coming behind that. This is a new section now.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
I just want to scavenge in peace and know that no one's going to jump me.
Yep.
That makes perfect sense. And so you fight your way through the fortress. You find the holding cells. And so you
Yeah.
start feeling like, okay, Abby's around the corner here. You know, you release a bunch of other people instead. They go fight the good fight, which was fun to hear. They're like, she's down at the columns down on the beach. I was like, okay. You know, every little thing. I'm annoyed at this point. I can't even
you're
hide
done.
it. I am annoyed with this game from leaving the farm till the credits. Annoyed.
Yeah.
And so I'm just doing it so we can have this talk and you guys don't have to do this without me.
Did a great job.
Yeah.
Yep.
thanks. And
So far, so
so we get down to the columns. We see a bunch of people hanging up. You're looking
Yeah.
at all the bodies. I go to the first girl with a ponytail, and it's not her.
Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy. I just went. I'm just walking. I just happened to turn around. The first person, it was Abby.
Yeah, because it was
Oh,
the
I
only
wasn't
one.
even paying attention to how they looked. Like I'm just walking, and I turn up, and there's a prompt, and I hit the prompt, and I was like,
Yep.
oh,
Yep. So, what did you guys think was gonna happen? She cuts her down. Abby's like, "Let's get Lev." They cut Lev down, and she goes, "Their boats are this way." What were you guys? What was your mindset right there? I'll tell you what mine was. I was worried that Ellie was gonna die right there for whatever reason. Because remember, she couldn't make that first jump onto the, like, there's a
Yeah.
step up.
Yeah.
Abby's way skinnier. Her arms
Yeah.
are small.
yeah, she's
Cut her
emaciated
hair.
too,
Yeah, she's emaciated.
or more so than
Yeah, she
from
still
actually taking it.
carries Lev and makes it up onto these sandbanks. Ellie's falling all over the place. I was like,
Yeah.
are they just gonna like? The whole time we're yelling, "Talk this out! Talk this out! Please
Yeah.
talk this out! Don't just get in the boats and leave." And you gotta just have the feeling of like, I had her right there and I didn't stab her. Because for me, if you're going to kill someone, why on earth do you cut them down?
Right.
Yeah.
Leave them on the pike. You stab them as many times as you want to, and you feel better about yourself and ride your boat
Well, she
back
would have
to
only been
wherever
able
the
to
heck.
reach high enough to stab her in the legs a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Ellie
How much
needs
stabbing
that
did
fight.
she need
I think
then?
that's too easy for Ellie.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's too
I mean,
easy.
that's
She
not
needs
what
to fight.
Ellie wanted.
I feel you, but Ellie could barely walk also at the time.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's how I was feeling about
Well,
it.
that evens the playing field. If I cut her down, she's emaciated, she's weak. I'm not 100% either. This
Even
is
the playing
this is,
field, Ellie's got a knife.
Yeah,
True.
but Ellie. So, in my estimation, Ellie wants to win.
Yes.
She does not want to. It's not even so much about just doing it. It's she wants to win. And so
Yes.
if she just stab, or cuts her down, goes over and I don't think that would have, in Ellie's mind, given her the satisfaction she needed.
Yep.
Because she's already, again, you could let's throw out the very first time when she's in there and she finds Joel and Joel's getting killed. Let's throw that one out. She has been bested by this person. She doesn't want to, I got you when you weren't looking. No, she
Right.
wants to
No cheap
win.
shots.
She
Yep.
Yeah.
wants to defeat her.
I feel you. Even if she defeats her, she's tied at best.
Yeah.
She's still down 2-1 on this girl.
Totally valid.
Two-
point.
two-
Oh, yeah.
0.
Yeah.
Okay,
Totally valid
so
point.
they make their way to the boats, and Ellie, of course, says what we all felt coming. I can't let you go.
So here, real quick, this is where I did think, because I thought it's a ruse. Abby can do over there. When she's like putting her pack in the thing, I'm like, Abby can run up and like smash her and like take that knife and kill her right here. I was like, that's what I was scared of.
Really?
I was like,
Yeah.
because I was like, if I'm Abby, even, not thinking straight because I've been hanging on this post and everything like that. And I'm like, this is the girl I told I don't want to ever see again. I let her go again. She's hunted me down again. She's not just going to let me leave.
I need to end
I
her.
just
Yeah.
instantly thought
Yeah.
like she's gonna think I got to get the jump. I got to do it. I was really nervous that it was just gonna be like, and take that knife and.
So they have this fight. First of all, Abby's like, I'm not doing this. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're here. We're both beaten to a pulp. We're both bloody. I got my freaking ponytail cut off. Like everybody's. I loved watching Love's hair grow back. By the way, I loved
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That was a
Yeah,
great
that was cool.
touch.
That was cool.
And Ellie's like, nah. And Abby's like, okay, if this will make you feel better.
Well, no, it's only
we'll
because she
do this.
threatened Lev.
Yeah, she puts the knife at Lev's throat.
She's like, you're gonna do this, otherwise I kill him. And she's like, he's not a part of this. And Ellie says, you made him a part of this.
So they fight.
Yeah, they do.
Ellie
Holy
brings-
smokes, they fight.
A knife to a fist fight. She's slicing her up and so you finally get her down, and it's like hit square. Did anybody else wait to see if like maybe you couldn't hit like it would just go past the moment?
No, it was too intense. I was like, I gotta whatever they're telling me to
I
do,
just
I
thought
gotta do
they've
it.
never given us that. In those key moments, it's always and now you have to hit square. So
I
I
know.
Yeah.
I was having a Far Cry movement. I was like, maybe if I don't hit square for long enough, she'll just let her go.
That's right. Yep.
Because in my head, she's gonna kill her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any thought that she's gonna go easy on this girl after this fight.
Right.
During the fight, I'm like, well, maybe she doesn't. So square, you hit her again, you start holding her head underwater, and it is gruesome.
forever.
For
I was
a
like,
long time.
she's gone.
Yeah.
That was the end.
And she has a flash finally of something good of Joel
Sitting on the porch.
playing the
Yep.
guitar, and she lets her go. Abby comes up, gets a huge breath, and you're like, all right, it is finished. Ellie's missing 2 fingers
Yep.
because she got him.
She's not at that point. They are still
Yeah.
on there.
They are.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I'm saying. Like she's bitten her fingers though
Yeah,
off.
Right. She's just
Yeah,
they're
they are
crying.
much-
Yeah,
Yeah, they're not.
holding
They're not
them.
healthy fingers.
No.
No.
And Abby drives away on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing we see is Ellie with no fingers.
Yep.
They're gone now.
Walking back to her farm.
Yep.
She opens the door, and what happens, Ed?
No one's there.
Not only is no one there,
Everything's gone.
everything's gone.
Right.
Dina has moved out.
Yep.
She said I wasn't doing this again.
Yep.
What did you think about that, Chris, when she opened up the door and everything's gone?
The first thing that I did, it wasn't like super shocking, but I wasn't necessarily expecting it. But when I opened it up, I walked through every single room looking well, there's going to be a note or something
right.
for
Yes.
just in case.
Explanation.
Not something just saying like something. Not like a big, long, like, oh, come find me and blah, blah, or anything like that, but just more of like I told you I was done. It's done.
Yeah.
I had to go.
Yeah.
Something.
Yep.
And so when there wasn't, I found that odd. So I was like, okay. And, then continues and she ends up going into the one room.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if somebody else wanted to chime in or had thoughts.
I was gonna ask Tim. Tim, what'd you think when she walked in? There was nothing there.
Yeah, I was the same with you, Chris. I was like, all right, I got to look around. There's got to be something. When I didn't get anything, but then I get to my room with all of my stuff and there's a guitar there, I'm like, okay, well, she's gone. So let's what's going to happen here? What happens next?
Yeah.
And so we go from there.
Yeah, it was one of those things for me, before I ask you, Ed, when I walked in, it was the thing I felt again on the island. I was like, so you mean to tell me you went after this girl to kill her and don't, and now you've sacrificed everything by that choice
Yeah.
because the needle doesn't actually move in either direction, except
Right.
for the fact that you can make the case that you save Abby. You make the case that if you don't go to Santa Barbara, Abby's down there anyway, gets kidnapped, gives them problems. They put her on the columns. She ends up dying, right? That's
Yeah.
what you play out in your head. But Ellie doesn't do what she came to do, besides the fact of what Chris might have mentioned. At least she won once. You know what I mean? At least she got the
Yeah.
best of her one good time. What'd you think when you walked in? Everything's gone. Dina's gone. Baby's gone. But she did put everything of yours in one room.
Yeah,
Like a nice person would.
Yeah. I mean, it made sense as soon as I realized, as soon as I walked in, I was like, yeah, of course. And there was that letter from Jesse's mom to Dina that said, you always have a home in Jackson. You and
Right.
JJ can come with us. So I was like, okay, well, that's probably where she is.
Yep.
I guess. And like you guys, I'll look around for a note.
Yeah.
Also, just real quick to flash back into the other time we were at the farm when you found the note, like you just mentioned from Jesse's parents. I don't know if you guys did, but I went in that room that time too. And outside of the guitar, it looked like all the stuff that just had already been in that room. It didn't look to me on the second time arriving that more had been added outside of the guitar. So I'm not sure about that, but my memory was like, oh, the room looks the same as I remember the last time, except the guitar is now on the ground.
The guitar and the
records.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Yeah, I just thought it was like, I was just so heartbroken because, like, I love a dark movie. I don't mind the bad guy winning in movies. Tragedies are hard for me when the pill you have to swallow is she's lost everything.
Yeah.
For what reasoning? Just her own selfishness, her own bad decision making. Like, that's the thing where there's zero, and you see her like leave the house and she's walking in the field. You're hoping she's walking back to Jackson. You're hoping that she makes it right with Dina. You hope that she takes her back. You hope that she talks to Tommy and Tommy's fine with it. But all these things are just kind of left up in the air, and you just kind of have to, use your own imagination. Tim, what is your imagination past what we've seen happen with
she's the true winner in this entire story is Abby. Because notice that Ellie leaves the guitar, walks out. She can't play the guitar anymore, something she loved to do with Joel, because she's missing 2 freaking fingers.
Yeah. Could you guys not strum good that time?
No.
Yeah.
I was like pressing the
Cool
touchpad.
touch.
I was like, what the freak? I was like,
what an amazing touch. What an amazing touch. She can't do it anymore. She has lost absolutely everything just for, and this is where, Gabe, I'm justifying that first farm scene, because this is what it boils down to. Your horrible decision cost you everything. And who wins? Your enemy. She's got a partner. She's scot-free. They're all banged up. We have no idea where she is, but she hasn't, she's lost enough. But I think she can rebuild a lot faster than you can right now. So when Ellie walks out, for me, this game, Last of Us and Last of Us 2, I never thought we were going to have any type of happy endings. We didn't have one in the first one. We had crap at the end. Yeah. It wasn't.
You had an ambiguous ending.
Yeah, it wasn't tied up in a nice bow. It wasn't an Uncharted 4 moment. This is a dark game. This is exactly right, Gabe. This is a tragedy, and it should end as a tragedy, and that is exactly how it ended. And for me, Abby's the big winner in all this. In the end, I definitely had more empathy for Abby. I feel like she lost a lot more in the long run. She had way more casualties than Ellie ever had. Ellie ends up losing out of all of it. And so that's when credits rolled, I just sat there. I'm like, that is the consequences for your decisions. That is exactly how that goes. And that is terrible.
Yeah.
I feel terrible for you, basically.
Right. Ed, what's your imagination say about Ellie as she's leaving the house?
I don't know how much longer Ellie lasts after she leaves. I don't think she goes to Jackson. I don't know if she's reached a point where she'll let herself go back. In my head, I can see her just kind of on her own, just kind of wandering, and something gets the better of her, sooner or later. I don't see it as a happy ending for Ellie at all. I mean, obviously, but even in the future, it's hard. I don't know that, even though she let Abby go, I don't know that she'll even be able to let it go for long. She was able to put up a good face with Dina and live the happy life, but she eventually, that call for revenge brought her back again. I'm not convinced it's not going to try to bring her back again later on down the road.
Yeah. Chris, What's your imagination say about Ellie after she leaves the house?
I view it as pretty much the same as the first game in that you don't know for sure, clearly up to interpretation or your imagination, but I don't see it as quite as negatively as you guys, partially because, and I won't say I necessarily came to this directly after finishing the game. In fact, I had to stop myself at the end of the Let's Play because I was like, we're going to have a spoiler cast, and I want to talk about some of these things there. I don't want to just spill all my guts here. Plus, I needed time to process. I did find, and this happened to some extent. You remember when the first one ended, you'd see articles and people with theories about, like, well, does Ellie know that he lied? Does he not? And people's theories. And, it's just fun to see other people's thoughts and everything. I found this one article that I just stumbled across. I wasn't searching for it, where they kind of said, like, oh, well, what if it's actually not that bad of an ending? And they gave some reasons. And I kind of buy into a couple of the things that they said, not completely all the directions that they went, but I kind of pulled a little bit from their theory and kind of formulated my own. So when she shows back up at the farm, she doesn't have any of her weapons. She has nothing but her backpack. To me, that tells me she's already been to Jackson. She went straight back to Jackson. She is going to the house not because it's the first time she's back and she's going in there and just finding out, like, oh, no, they're gone or whatever. She's just finally going back because she needs to, in her way, that's her being able to finally let go with Joel. And the reason that I say that is because one of the many things that her and Abby had in common is Abby kept going back and having this nightmare of going in the room and seeing her dad dead, going in and seeing her dad dead. And then when she left the kids in that whatever it was, that trailer where she had put them, she had a dream where she went there and she opened that door, and now inside there are the kids hanging from the tree and they'd been gutted like the other people. And then Ellie kept having the flashback to Joel being hit, flashback to him being killed. And both of them, I don't remember what it was with Abby's. I believe that something changed and she had some positive spin on the dream, or she could sleep. Maybe that's what it was. You weren't seeing her wake up in like as a nightmare. And then Ellie, when she had beat Abby, she had the flash of Joel on the porch. So to me, both of them had gotten what they needed to get in terms of their satisfaction of their revenge, or they came to terms with whatever their situation was. So to me, I think that right after Santa Barbara, Ellie went to Jackson, which is where I also think that Dina is because of the letter from Jesse's parents. I'm not going to say like they're together or they've worked things out or anything like that. Like that, I have no idea. I think that she may try to figure something out there, but I don't think that that's been reconciled by any means. But I do think she had already been to Jackson. I think she was going back to the house. Also, the fact that when she gets to the house, besides the fact she has no weapons, she doesn't say anything like Dina or anything like that. I mean, obviously things have been removed, but you'd think there'd be some type of audible thing from her, and there wasn't anything. I think she went there because the guitar is there, and that's what Joel gave to her, and that's her like finally letting go, and that's why she leaves the guitar there and then walks back. And when she's leaving, I think she's going back to Jackson. That's what I think. Now, that's not to say she still didn't lose a lot and lose almost everything, potentially even losing Dina and JJ as well, because I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, in my happy-go-lucky dream, they reconcile everything. I don't know that. But I do think it's not – I choose to believe it's not quite as ominous. I feel like it's almost the same thing as the end of Last of Us 1. It wasn't a bad ending, but it wasn't good either. It's just kind of this –
unsettling.
You could go this way or that way.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of up for interpretation. And I will say this too. I don't want them to make another game.
Yeah.
I don't want them to make another one. And for as much as I liked about this game, I kind of stick with I think part one could have been just one and done. I really do think that it could have been.
Of course. Well, and that was going to be my last two questions I was going to ask each of you guys. No. Before we wrap this up, because your answer might still be different. Because my question is not if you want it. So the last two questions, everybody will answer it, and then we'll close this thing out. Chris, do you think they'll make a third? And what would you rate this game out of 10?
I don't think they'll make a third.
Even though we know that they're doing something with Tommy, right? Did they release something about that?
They are?
I had not heard that. I saw something online about like, oh, if they were gonna do because they did Left Behind DLC for the
Right,
first one, like if they're gonna
they
do
might
something
do
like
that.
that, let's do something on Tommy, haha. But I feel like Neil Druckmann's even had come out and said that this game's not getting DLC.
Yeah, that's
but
what
maybe I could be wrong.
I remember hearing that as well, Chris, that this is not having a Left Behind type.
Because it's so much
edition.
longer.
Yeah.
Right.
Is part.
Yeah.
But so I don't think they'll make another one. If Sony's like, but money, and they end up making it anyways, I just don't want to hear anything with Joel and Ellie's story. That story is done. If this game had been only about Abby and some other thing, like I probably could have gotten behind it. But it's like I want Joel and Ellie to be done. So my hope is that this is the end of the road for the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Also knowing that we're about to get an HBO series
Yeah.
that I hope does not, even more so than before, do not be about Joel and Ellie. Just be the universe of The Last of Us and tell it something different.
Yeah.
That's how they can continue on The Last of Us to me. I don't want another game. I just feel like I'm good with this. And as far as what I rate it, man, I probably more than anything, I've gone back and forth on this stuff because I said kind of unassuredly on the game, they're like, well, yeah, I guess this has to be my game of the year. I have to go back and forth even on that because even though mechanically I think this game is way better, from a gameplay standpoint, I liked a lot of this better than the first game. Obviously, graphically, as you might expect, it's better. I so hated playing and just did not get behind Abby for such a huge part of this game that how can I make a game where I just didn't buy into a big quarter of the story my game of the year? I just don't know. So, I mean, honestly, like any given day, it would probably change, but I'd probably have to go like maybe a 7 or an 8. Maybe 8 if I'm really stretching for high. But it's like,
Yeah.
that's because all the technical and the gameplay parts and the parts that I did like about Joel and Ellie and all that, I loved those so much. It's a hard situation to be in. I will give them this. I've thought about this game a lot more than I have in many other games in recent memory. The last game that I thought maybe not even quite as much as this, but did think a lot about was when God of War ended.
Yeah.
This game is hard for me.
Tim, do you think they'll make a 3? And what do you rate this game?
I'm with you, Chris. I don't really. I've had the closure that I needed from the first one to the second. We've got Joel and Ellie. We are passionate about these characters. Clearly, a lot of other people are more so than some. We're passionate about these characters. We have seen the ups and downs, and for this one at the very end, we've kind of seen. For me, I've seen the tragedy of it all. I don't need to see anything else. I think they've said it all. I would love for them to come up with a new IP. Take that money, take the money that they're going to make from this, get Neil Druckmann to come up with something different. The man is a brilliant storyteller, brilliant director, and let's come up with something different. And that I would love to see something. I think at chapter 1 and 2, and we are good. And as far as rating goes, I'm a simple guy. I like the things that I like. I'm willing to try things, and then there's some things that I just can't stand. For me,
I love
this is a straight up 10 out of 10. It is my game.
Oh.
1 and 2 are my games of all time. If anybody new wants to play any type of single player game, these two are the quintessential games to play, bar none. There is nothing that can touch this. The fact that
Assuming they have the stomach for it, because part 2 gets pretty dang brutal.
Exactly.
Yes, it does.
The fact that we have spent 3 hours discussing this
Has
game
it been 3 hours?
says a lot about the story, about the ups and downs of it. And we can nitpick all you want on this, but Neil Druckmann has put together a masterpiece because I've still been thinking about it since I finished it. I'm going to continue to think about this, and I'm sure a lot of other people are doing the same thing. So I'm all in, and these are my games. This is the pinnacle of, and of course, me being the single player guy that I am.
Yeah, this is exactly what you're looking for.
This is exactly what I want in any type of game, and this is the pinnacle of it. And the VO, come on, I mean, ugh. It's amazing.
Right. Ed, do you think they'll make a 3? And what's your rating?
I don't think they'll make a 3. I think I think people loved the first one so much and they were excited about. I can't see them making a sequel to a game that a lot of people are like, that's horrible. Well, yeah. Well, how about another one? You know,
Right.
I just don't see that happening. It's very funny too because, Chris, I saw the pain and you're like, oh, I'll give it a 7 or an 8, and it came across to me like like you thought that was a bad score, and to me, I was
I mean,
my
it's
first
bad for
impression
Naughty
was, yeah, I guess that maybe that's right because I felt good saying, oh, I don't know, 7.5, 8. That seemed like a pretty good score, you know. So to me, that's a good score, you know.
Yeah.
Overall, I really enjoyed it. They made me feel. They made I enjoyed it, and to me, an 8, giving it a 7.5 or an 8, that's not a bad score to me. So yeah, I give you an 80%. I give you a B.
There you go.
I totally, even as I was saying it, I know what you mean by that. But I think that speaks more about how much I enjoyed the gameplay part and the parts of the characters I like more than it's like, and a little bit of the ride over of loving the first game so much because the first game is definitely one of my tops of all time kind of things.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And then it kind of, I don't remember which one of you two said it. I think it was Gabe. The point is like, I'm coming into this thinking this is getting a 10 out of 10. And so to be docked 3 is like, ooh.
It's a long way,
Even though overall, absolutely agree. That's not bad by any means.
It's because we all probably give the first one a 10 out of 10 without question.
Yeah.
And
The
then
bar is set high.
And then Uncharted, we probably gave 10 out of 10. Uncharted 2 was 10 out of 10. You know, like their games are so amazing. I'm really, 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 really hoping they don't make a 3. I don't even know where it would go. I don't know who you would talk about. I think that it would feel cheap. I think that it would feel like a money grab. I think it would feel like a waste of time. I can't imagine the story they would tell that I'd want to live through. And this is what sucks, man. I never want to finish a game waiting for it to be over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this one I was like, okay, thank God. Like, and we're done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Right.
like when I walked from the back lounge, everybody was like, "Did you beat it?" I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "And?" I was like, "It's awesome." That's not how I want to be. I want to be like, dude, I wish you could have been back there. The ending of this game is crazy. That's how I felt at the end of the first one. When you're like, oh snap, he lied to her. Oh snap, I cannot believe he lied about that. He said it didn't work. He said the cure wouldn't have. You know, there was so many layers there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Chris, I'm with you. Somebody asked me the other day, what would you rate it? The first thing out of my mouth was a 7. And I was like, ooh, that tastes bad. And I was like, I mean 7.5. Like I couldn't even jump it to like an 8 or 8.5.
Yeah.
But it's just because Naughty Dog, in their wisdom and their incredible creativity, have set the bar so high that, like Ed's saying 8 sounds low.
Yeah.
Even though 8 out of 10, if I made a game and people gave it an 8 out of 10, I'd be doing herkies. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll throw my back out doing herkies. Yeah. And so, man, I think I got to go with a 7.5 out of 10.
So, a follow-up question then is that Druckmann was saying we would never do a sequel unless we had a great story to tell. Do you think they should have made it? Do you think they should have made it? Do you think they had a great story to tell?
I'll 2 parts to that. I'll give you one little thing to kind of go along with that. So, like I said earlier, I've been listening to the official Last of Us podcast. Yeah, they're 2 episodes in on this game, part 2.
Okay,
and they did at the end of it, they do like a little teaser for some little snippets of audio of the people that they're interviewing for the next episode. I think the next one may be the last one. I'm not exactly sure. But in it, I was listening to it on the way home today, and Neil Druckmann said this small little line that I don't think was the full context, but he said basically, he's like, because they said next time we're getting into the Abby side. He's like, if we can't get you to love Abby, if we can't get you on her side by the end of this part where you play with her, he's like, then we failed. And when I heard that, I was like, that means this game's a failure for me, technically. because they did not get me on Abby's side. And man, it's just so nuts because I understand everything. It's just that these people are all bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my tribe is Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
And then Dina and Jesse and Tommy. Like, that's my tribe. That's who I'm going. I'm Team Ellie.
Yeah.
And that's not changing because they make questionable decisions, because in that world, everybody's got blood on their hands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody's got, red in their ledger.
And you came to pick a fight with us.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And my problem is too, Chris, like you're saying,
man. That's it sucks to say.
It does.
I don't want to say it.
Here's what's
know.
weird, Chris, too, is that I'm not on Abby's side either, but also strongly disagree with Ellie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, does me strongly disagreeing with Ellie make me on Abby's side? Or is it just saying, like, I'm not on Abby's side. You did what you came to do. You killed Joel in the first hour and a half of the game.
Right.
You done. You got your thing. Go about your business. Now I got to deal with Ellie and be like, but you're continually making bad decisions over here that I would not promote in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
That's why it's a great tragedy.
That's why it's a great tragedy, for sure.
It's a little bit like what she says to Joel. The one little bit that we get at the end. She's like, she told him, you should have let me die there. My life would have mattered.
Oh, that
And
hurt.
she says, which, by the way, I have a follow-up about that real quick after this. But she says, I don't know that I can ever forgive you for that. But I'd like to try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where you are with Ellie, because I was the same way in the house. I was like, this is so the wrong decision. You don't go do this. You're screwing this up. You're making bad decisions. And I know that I choose to believe a slightly more positive twist on the way that it ended. But it's still, like you said, it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
But I love Ellie. And I would like to try to forgive her for that. And knowing me, I'm going to forgive her for that, because
that same scene that you're talking about when Joel's playing the guitar, she walks up to him and they talk about forgiveness. I tied that in with why Ellie decided not to kill Abby, because when she had that flashback, exact same scene.
Yeah.
And what's in that exact same scene? The talk about forgiveness.
Yeah, that's like she got what she needed, even though it didn't finish the deed. So
that's why it justified that entire part for me. I'm like, wow, she got it. She understands it. And once she let go, then she got that part of it. But then when she goes back and the house is empty, that's kind of the consequences of your decision. So she learned a lesson and she paid for it. Thus, tragedy.
That one part in that flashback scene, we don't know how Gabe likes flashbacks. When you go there and she's saying that, she's having that exchange with Joel, and then she says, I should have died on there. Because if I remember right, too, in the first game, like, they did not think she was going to have to die for that.
Right.
So even though he kind of knew, like, well, but she does want to be the cure, and this is probably going to suck. He could not say definitively 100% he knew she did not want to die.
It's unclear. Yeah, it's unclear.
So that aside, when she says, you should have let me die, and my life would have mattered, and he said, if the Lord would have given me a chance to do it again, I'd do the same thing. It's, paraphrasing. The only thing I wish that scene added, because we still don't get the resolution. That's part of why her revenge, kind of meant so much to her, is because they were just starting on the getting back to good. They didn't before he died. That's where it left. That's their last interaction before she sees him die. So there wasn't the reconciliation. I just wish that he would have, when she said, my life would have mattered, and then he says, if the good Lord gave me another day to do it again, I would do the exact same thing. I wish his next line, and it could have been it, would have said, your life does matter to me, because I don't think he ever said it. His actions showed it. She knows that.
Of course,
that he believes that.
Right.
I wanted so badly for him to say it, because words have power, and I think that would have been so strong. I was foaming at the mouth for him to say that or some semblance of that. And when he didn't, it just it was like a knife, even though it still I mean, it's the best I guess I could have asked for considering what we got. But man, I just wish he would have said something like that.
Well, man, oh man,
Whoosh.
this has been one here, Bishops.
I think we spoiled it.
Whoa, watch your language.
I think we spoiled the whole doggone thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Spoiler alert. Heads up.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Jeez.
yes.
Did we
Shoot.
leave that out?
Turn your volume down.
Dang it.
Turn your
It's in
volume
the-
down.
Yeah, it's in the title. If you missed it.
Yeah.
Man, we up out of this thing. Thanks for being here. If you was here the whole time, woo-wee. I don't think we've ever even had a podcast this long, and all we did was talk about one video game.
Yeah. Right.
So it shows you the power of The Last of Us. It shows you the power of Naughty Dog. It shows you how amazing that team is over there. And we're just blessed to be gamers, man. At this point,
man.
we're just blessed to be gamers. It's a good time to be alive as a gamer. I'm Gabe Patillo. That's Ed Placencia. That is Tim Router. That is Chris McCracken. I got to get my pointing down. We married to the gays, baby. We up out this thing. Peace.